Chapter 731. Red flowers, white lotus roots, and green lotus leaves. The three sects were originally one family. Although after the Great God-Confirmant War, the three sects and one family only existed in name. However, with the rise of the Buddhist sects, the relationship between the three sects, which all belonged to the Xianmen sect, had eased up a lot. After all, there were no eternal enemies in the world, only eternal interests. Back then, the Great God-Confirmant War was for the sake of benefits. The Jade Emperor wanted to control the heavenly courts, and Chan School was indignant that Jie School was the strongest. It was the same now. With the rise of the Buddhist sect, the unorthodox sects in the wilderness in the eyes of others had already become giants. They had the momentum of Jie School being the most powerful sect in the past. The three sects of a celestial sect alone could not do anything to him. Therefore, in order to resist the rising Buddhist sects, the relationship between the three sects eased up a lot. At the very least, when facing the Buddhists, the Jie School and Chan School would not fight and kill each other the moment they met. This was also the reason why Bull Demon King dared to let Red Boy refine the true Samadhi fire. I'm the Bull Demon King of the Jie School. Greetings, Taoist priest. May I know your name? Who is your master? Actually, after he was forced to use the one-breath Sanqing, Fang Qingshan had come to his senses. He knew that after the Bull Demon King saw it, he would not be able to continue the battle. Hearing his question, Zhang Xian didn't hesitate. He retracted his ability and cupped his fists. Fang Qingshan, the second-generation direct disciple of the Ren School, greets the Taoist. It's you. The Bull Demon King was stunned for a moment, and then he realized that Fang Qingshan was quite famous in the God Investiture battlefield back then. Moreover, he rose to the top by stepping on the disciples of the Jie School, so the Bull Demon King was no stranger to him. So it's senior brother Fang. Old Cow greets you. I wouldn't dare. Junior brother Niu is too polite. Fang Qingshan returned the salute. The two chatted for a while before the Bull Demon King could not help but ask Fang Qingshan. I wonder why senior brother has come Mount Hao? Has this brat offended you? Haha, not really. Fang Qingshan shook his head with a smile. I was the one who came looking for you. I want to take Red Boy as my disciple. What do you think, junior brother Niu? What? Senior martial brother wants to accept my son as a disciple? The Bull Demon King was stunned at first, then overjoyed. That's great. It's his fortune to be able to become junior brother's disciple. Although Fang Qingshan's cultivation base was not very high, he was only a golden immortal. Not to mention the ancient mighty figures. Even many great demons in the Western Oct Prefecture had a higher cultivation base than him. However, just because one's cultivation wasn't high didn't mean that one's combat strength wasn't high. Since Fang Qingshan was able to fight evenly with him with the cultivation base of a gold immortal, he was more than qualified to be Red Boy's teacher. Moreover, Fang Qingshan's cultivation was low, not because he was not talented, but because he had only cultivated for a short time. If there were no accidents, as long as he continued to cultivate step by step, he would become a powerhouse sooner or later. Moreover, Fang Qingshan was the only direct disciple of the second generation of Ren School. That identity alone was enough to make people scramble for him. If Red Boy became his disciple, he would be Laozi's direct disciple. With this identity alone, he would have a layer of protection when he traveled in the primordial world in the future. Even if he did not care about the monk, he would care about the Buddha. Anyone who knew his identity would not make things difficult for him. Parents loved their children, and they had far-reaching plans. What a pitiful parent's heart. Red Boy, come and greet your teacher. The Bull Demon King pulled Red Boy over and asked him to bow to Fang Qingshan. How is it? Can I be your teacher now? Fang Qingshan looked at Red Boy with a smile. Disciple Red Boy greets teacher. Seeing that Fang Qingshan was able to fight on par with his father and that he was really a disciple of a saint, Red Boy did not hesitate at all. He immediately knelt down before Fang Qingshan and kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. All right, get up. It was the same as when he accepted Bo Yikao as his disciple. Fang Qingshan's true purpose was for the other party's merit and luck. However, he would not mistreat the other party. Originally, I should have prepared a greeting gift for you when you acknowledged me as your master. Looking at Red Boy, whose eyes were shining, Fong Qingshan changed his tone. However, with your current cultivation level, you can't even control the true samadhi fire. Even if I give you a treasure, it will be useless when you meet an expert. Instead, it will cause trouble. However, I can't give you a greeting gift. In that case, let me help you completely control the true samadhi fire. With that, Fong Qingshan waved his hand and threw Red Boy into the timeless Arkansas. However, he was prepared to use the Bodhi tree to make Red Boy gain enlightenment and use the 1,000-year pagoda to change time. Just like that, when Red Boy was pulled out by Fong Qingshan again, he was already very different. He was still the same person, but in all aspects, he was very different from before. In terms of temperament, he was previously arrogant and unruly, but now as gentle as jade. Although his cultivation level did not increase, he had complete control of the true samadhi fire. The fire cloud cave did not live up to its name anymore. Combat power, state of mind, experience, and so on, all of them had a qualitative improvement. A scholar who has been away for 3 days should be looked at with new eyes. Seeing the new Red Boy, the Bull Demon King was overjoyed. The reason why he could not wait to let Red Boy acknowledge him as his master was because of Fong Qingshan's combat power and identity. However, he did not expect him to have such means. It was really a big win. Thank you for your nurturing, master. This time, without the Bull Demon King's reminder, Red Boy bowed respectfully to Fong Qingshan. All right. Fong Qingshan helped Red Boy up, looked him up and down, and nodded in satisfaction. Just as Fong Qingshan subdued Red Boy, Guanyin walked down from Mount Meru. The great tribulation of the journey to the west was about to begin. Ever since she was appointed by Gautama as the executor of the journey to the west, Guanyin was delighted. That was because as long as she did this well, she would have a meteoric rise. With merit and luck, she was second only to Xuanzang and Sun Wukong. Even if she still could not compare to Gautama, she had closed the distance between them and became one of the top experts below the sage. However, she felt uneasy. It seemed that her opportunity was not so stable. Guanyin secretly calculated for a while, but did not receive any news at all. He thought that it was because of the chaos of the heavenly secrets during the Great Tribulation. However, he did not know that the root cause was the primordial violet qi in Fong Qingshan's body. During the Great Tribulation, the heavenly secrets not appearing was only one aspect. The primordial violet qi was the key. The last time Fong Qingshan came to the great God Conferment world, he personally took action and even used the Taiji painting, a Khanate cardinal treasure. This time, when Fong Qingshan came, it was only the Grand Supreme Elder who took action and used the diamond ring, a postnatal cardinal treasure. If not for the karma between Fong Qingshan and the Grand Supreme Elder, and the fact that he did not deliberately hide it, even the Grand Supreme Elder would not have been able to discover his traces. After all, the concealment effect of the primordial violet qi was not inferior to that of a Khanate cardinal treasure. In that case, how could Guanyin discover any clues? Since she could not divine it, Guanyin did not dwell on it. Chapter 732. In his opinion, now that the Buddhist sect was prospering, the luck was in his hands, and the plan was basically in place. He thought that no one would dare to risk the world's condemnation, so he was not too worried. After descending Mount Meru, he headed for the Tang nation of the South Continent. Along the way, he saw the 81 tribulations and demons from all over the world. There was nothing unusual, and he felt more at ease. He began to follow the original plan step by step. First, he enlightened Monk Sha at the Quicksand River and told him that the journey to the west was about to begin. The next person to obtain the scriptures was the real one, and he should not be eaten. When Monk Sha heard that, he naturally accepted the advice readily. Then, he arrived at Gaolao village. Guanyin used the same trick and enlightened Zhu Beiji, letting him follow Tripitaka as a disciple. She guaranteed that when he went to the west to obtain the scriptures, he would be able to atone for his sins and escape the calamity. Just like Monk Sha, this was expected, so how could Zhu Beiji disagree? Now, you look high and mighty, as if you have everything under control. I wonder if you can still be so calm when you know second Uncle Master's plan. Unlike Monk Sha, Zhu Beiji already knew about his Uncle Master's secret plan. He looked at the ignorant Guanyin and laughed in his heart. After passing Galao village, they arrived at the Eagle Worry Stream. Guanyin continued to enlighten the little white dragon. What was different from Zhu Beiji and Monk Sha? The little white dragon should have walked on the guillotine a long time ago, but Guanyin saved him and ordered him to wait here for the person to obtain the scriptures. He would turn into a white horse and beat him out. Now that the little white dragon was at the end of his rope, it was better to live than to die. Naturally, he agreed to live again and was grateful to Guanyin. What he did not know was that he was being sold and was still helping others earn money. Previously, he thought that Princess Wanqing's affair and breaking the Imperial Pearl were all planned by others. It was naturally to fill in the dragon division of the Buddhist sect and absorb the luck of the dragon race of the four seas. Therefore, the little white dragon was later given the title of Eight Heavenly Dragon Guangli Bodhisattva. The little white dragon was probably in the Journey to the West team, like Monkey Sun, who was kept in the dark. Tripitaka did not know that it was only because he was a reincarnated body. However, even if he found out later on, what could he do? Other than the saints, how many could jump out of the chessboard and not be a chess piece? After making arrangements for Little White Dragon, they went to the Five Elements Mountain, which was also the most important place in the Journey to the West. Because in the Journey to the West, the others could be changed. After all, there were demons, ghosts, gods, and Buddhas everywhere. It did not matter if one more or one less. The only ones that could not be changed were Tripitaka and Monkey Sunday. The golden cicada had been a sutra seeker for 10 lifetimes. His determination was unwavering, and he was appointed by the Buddhist sect. Sun Wukong was the incarnation of the Sky Mending Stone. He possessed the two great fortunes of the Sky Mending and the demon race. Guanyin was planning to use the same method as before to enlighten Monkey Sun, but she did not expect to meet an old friend. It's a pity that the demon monkey didn't serve justice and was arrogant and pretended to be a hero. He had disrupted the Immortality Peach Banquet and brazenly entered the Tushita Palace. Invincible among 100,000 soldiers, awe-inspiring in the 9 heavens. You are trapped by my Buddha, Tathagata. When will you be able to relax and show your skills again? In order to attract Monkey Sun's attention, Guanyin stared at the golden sticker of Tathagata's 6-syllable mantra on the 5 Fingers Mountain and composed a poem. Little did he expect that Fong Qingshan would be the first to come before the Monkey King was attracted. Bodhisattva, you are in a good mood. I wonder if I should call the Taoist Sihong or Guanyin now. Fong Qingshan and Guanyin were comrades who had fought side by side during the Battle of Investiture of the Gods. Now that they met again, things remained the same, but people had changed. You are? Fong Qingshan did not conceal his aura. Even if he did, it would be useless to be so close to him. Therefore, Guanyin had long discovered his traces. At the same time, she also felt a familiar aura from him. Especially when she heard the 2 words, Sihong, she was even more curious. But for a moment, she could not remember who Fong Qingshan was. Fellow Taoist, you are indeed forgetful. Fong Qingshan shook his head and reminded her about the Battle of Gods. It's you. Guanyin was enlightened. So it's fellow Taoist Fong from the Ren School. I've been rude. The two of them exchanged pleasantries. Guanyin asked, it's been many years since I last saw the Taoist. May I know why the Taoist is here? Haha, I'm the guardian of the mountain now. Fong Qingshan smiled. Guardian of the mountain? Isn't that the mighty miracle god? Guanyin raised her eyebrows. It's like this, Fong Qingshan explained and asked, Guanyin, are you here because the journey to the west is about to begin? Yes. Guanyin nodded. I'm here to expiate that monkey. In that case, there's no need to go through the trouble. Fong Qingshan waved his hand and said, the Taoist just needs to go to Chong and to look for Jean Chanzi. That monkey already knows. Guanyin nodded and continued to head east. Although he felt that Fong Qingshan's sudden appearance was a little strange, he did not notice anything strange. After all, he had replaced the mighty miracle god as the guardian of the mountain and seized the opportunity. However, it had nothing to do with him. Moreover, the mighty miracle god and the heavenly courts did not have any objections. Why should he be the bad guy? He had not connected the variable, Fang Qingshan, with his uneasiness. Otherwise, he would have destroyed Fang Qingshan's clone and found Fang Qingshan's main body. Then, he would have killed him under the Grand Supreme Elder's interception. Of course, the premise was that Fang Qingshan was really that easy to deal with. In the 13th year of Jingguan, on the 3rd day of the 9th month of the year, it was a good day. The sky was auspicious, and there were tens of thousands of auspicious lights. The wind was gentle, and the weather was very beautiful. Chang and City, Transformation Temple, Tang Sung, and 1,200 eminent monks held a meeting on land and water to perform various wonderful scriptures. Even Emperor Li Shimin and a group of civil and military officials were present. It was grand and famous all over the world. Right at this moment, Guanyin, who came under the order of Buddha, appeared. These so-called experts would often play some tricks to show people that good things were not so easy to obtain, so that people would cherish them. It was the same for Jiang Taigong fishing, Huang Shi meeting Zhang Liang, and Guanyin presenting treasures. After a series of twists and turns, Li Shimin ordered Tang Sung to go to the west to obtain the scriptures. At this point, Guanyin's mission was considered complete. He only needed to wait for Tang Sung to go through 81 tribulations. He would be ready to help at any time until he obtained scriptures. Thus, Guanyin returned to Locket Mountain and quietly waited for Tang Sung to come to Black Wind Mountain. It was a pity that God's plans were inferior to man's. He might have planned well, but everything changed the moment Fang Qingshan appeared. He might still be able to obtain a lot of merit and luck, but it wouldn't be as much as before. His cultivation might not be able to improve, but he wouldn't be able to reach his goal. Chapter 733. Putting aside Guanyin's actions, Fang Qingshan did not stay long after he accepted Red Boy as his disciple on Mountain Hao and fought with the Bull Demon King. He only imparted the supreme purity celestial art to Red Boy and explained it to him. He told him to cultivate on Mountain Hao and wait for the right time. Fang Qingshan was prepared to send him to Tashita Palace. Firstly, he wanted to be filial to his master. Secondly, he could develop better with the Elder Lord's guidance. He plotted with the Bull Demon King for a while before continuing to the next checkpoint. After Mountain Hao, he reached the Black River. The monster here was a small horned dragon. This person was not a wild demon, but a second-generation demon. Unfortunately, he was unlucky and had a difficult life. Most importantly, he had a strong background, so he could make a move. Black River. Just like the Yellow River, it got its name because the river was black. There was a demon here. It was a drake, a pure descendant of a dragon. His father was the Jing River Dragon King, and his mother was the sister of the West Sea Dragon King. He was the cousin of the Little White Dragon. In the family, he had 8 elder brothers who were doing well. They were all gods of the great rivers. Only the drake was the youngest and most favored, so he stayed by his parents' side. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and lived a luxurious life. He could get whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, all of this changed when the journey to the west began. His father, the Jing River Dragon King, made a bet with Yuan Shouqing and changed the time of the rain. He violated the rules of heaven and was killed by Wei Zheng in his sleep. After the Jing River Dragon King died, his mother brought the drake to his uncle, the West Sea Dragon King. The little drake's family business collapsed, and he lost his father at a young age. He was under great pressure and wanted to make a name for himself to revive his family business. Therefore, the West Sea Dragon King sent the little drake away, telling him to stay in the Black River and wait for him to become famous. The little drake did not want to wait any longer. Time waited for no one. Therefore, he snatched the position of the river god and occupied the nest of the magpie. If that was all, it would not be a big deal. Although the dragon clan of the 4 seas couldn't compare to the primordial dragon phoenix tribulation, Neza, Monkey's son, and the 8 immortals all dared to cause a ruckus. However, that was only because he was capable. Most importantly, he had a backer. In fact, although the Dragon Clan had declined, they were still in control of the world's water veins and were responsible for summoning rain and clouds. Naturally, the Black Water River was also under the Dragon Clan's control. If the little red dragon really wanted to become the Black Water River god, he could just tell the West Sea Dragon King to do it. But he didn't. Growing up, he had developed a mentality of not wanting to trouble others. If he did it himself, he would be well fed and clothed. Unfortunately, he forgot that although the Black Water River was managed by the dragon race was still a subordinate of the heavenly court on the surface. He indiscriminately snatched the position of the river god, which was a slap to the heavenly court's face. If that was the case, he could just turn a blind eye to it. After all, the Black Water River was not the Yangtze River or the Yellow River. Didn't they see that after the position of the Blackwater River god was snatched away, they could only sulk? If he reported it to his superiors, he would be walking right into a trap. If he reported it to his superiors, his rank would not be high enough. Did the people in the heavenly court really not know? It was just that if the people did not report it, the officials would not investigate it. What was worse was that after he became the river god, he did not think about doing good to the people, but actually did evil things. What was even more outrageous was that he turned into a fisherman and tried to catch Tripitaka and eat him, not forgetting to share with the West Sea Dragon King. It was unknown whether he was filial or stupid. If he didn't have some tricks up his sleeves, and Zhu Beiji and the others didn't go easy on him, he might have followed in his father's footsteps before the West Sea Crown, Prince Emoang, arrived. When Fang Qingshan came to the Black Water River, he saw layers of waves, black as ink. Water foam floated up like charcoal, and waves rose like overturned coal. If the cattle and sheep didn't drink, crows and magpies couldn't fly. If the water wasn't vast, he would think it was a stinky dish. Compared to the monsters on land, Fang Qingshan was better at dealing with the monsters in the water. The reason was not that his control of water had been cultivated to the level of the Dragon Clan, or that Chi Waziki was not weaker than the Gongon clan. This was because, in general, monsters in the water, except for a limited number of them, were like fish out of water when they were in the water, except for a limited number of them. And Fang Qingshan had a treasure that could restrain all water in the world, and that was the sea-calming divine pearl. The little turtle dragon was good at swimming. In the Black Water River, he defeated Zhu Beiji and Monk Sha, forcing Sun Wukong not to go into the water. Although they were suspected of going easy on him, he also had some tricks to control water. Unfortunately, after Fang Qingshan took out the sea-calming divine pearl, he was like a dragon in shallow water and a tiger in flat land. It was not much more difficult than dealing with the white-boned spirit and Generaline. Just like before, Fang Qingshan beat the little turtle dragon into submission. After subduing it, he let it continue to stay in the Black Water River. Everything was the same as before, except that it was not to cause trouble. Then, he continued to go west. After crossing the Black Water River, the next stop was Chi country. There were 3 monsters there, the tiger's strength immortal, the deer's strength immortal, and the sheep's strength immortal. They were a few good monsters during the journey to the west. Not only did they not eat people or cause trouble, but they also helped Chi country to have good weather and peace. Unfortunately, no one knew if it was because they only worshipped Taoism and did not respect Buddha. Instead, they mistreated Buddhist disciples so that they were killed by Sun Wukong. The Taoism skills of the 3 monsters in Chi country were not very profound, but they were not wild monsters, but pawns of the Xianmen. However, they were not pawns of the Rin school, but pawns of the Chan school. In the journey to the west, compared to the Rin school, which did not have 2 cats, and the Jie school, which was scattered when the tree fell, the Chan school, which had won the God Conferment, basically did not make any moves. No one knew if it was because of the betrayal of C.I. Hang and others, or something else. Anyway, they kept a low profile. In the Jie school, Li Xiong went to the mortal world, and the star constellation went to battle. The Bull Demon King and others showed their existence. The Rin school also sent Zhu Beiji, the Golden Horn, the Silver Horn, and the Green Bull to get some merit. It seemed that the Chan school only sent the 3 monsters in Chi country, except for the 5 villages temple, who mentioned that Zhen Yuanzi went to me Luo heaven to listen to the heavenly Lord Yuanshi preach. They were originally the monsters of Zhongnan Mountain, and Zhongnan Mountain was the Taoist field of Yinzhongzi. Although Yinzhongzi was not among the 12 golden immortals of the Chan school, his status in the Jade Mirage Palace was not low at all, and his cultivation was even close to that of Guangqingzi. Because he was a golden immortal and his original body was a cloud, some people guessed that he was the reincarnation of the ancient mighty red cloud. As for the specific reason, probably few people knew about it except for the person involved. These 3 people might have just been casually enlightened by Yin Zhongzi, otherwise he would not have watched the 3 of them die without helping them. Fang Qingshan thought that if there was a chance, he could save them. After all, compared to other monsters, the behavior of the 3 of them was already considered complete. Since it was the Schwammen's place, Fang Qingshan naturally could not snatch food from the tiger's mouth. Chapter 734. After passing Chechi country, they arrived at the Tongtian River. This skyspan cascade was somewhat similar to the skyspan cascade that Fang Qingshan had encountered in the war chess competition back in Eternal World. The river was tumbling like the blue waves of the sea. There was also the Afflatus King stirring up waves in the river. Relying on the geographical advantage, ordinary people could not do anything to him. Just like the Blackwater River, this Afflatus King was like a dove occupying a magpie's nest. The only difference was the background. The monster of the Blackwater River was just a second-generation child, while the Afflatus King was a goldfish spirit in Guanin's lotus pond. Because he had been listening to Guanin's preaching all year round, he had gained wisdom. Under Guanin's indulgence, he ran out of Locket Mountain and came to the Tongtian River. He pretended to be a deity and forced the villagers to sacrifice children for him every year. He even tricked Tripitaka. In the end, he was subdued by Guanin. This was a monster with a background, and it was related to Guanin. Naturally, Fang Qingshan did not want to alert him. Fang Qingshan felt a little emotional. Human life was like grass. Heaven and earth were heartless and treated all living things like straw dogs. Mighty people were heartless and treated common people like straw dogs. In order to prevent Tripitaka from having more people around him to share his karma. On the Shuansha Ridge, General Yin ate 2 guards sent by Li Shimin. In the Eagle's sorrow stream, he did not even let go of the white horse. Monk shot 9 sutra seekers at the Quicksand River and strung their skulls into a string of Buddhist beads. This Afflatus King even ate children as delicacies. As the saying goes, good and evil will be rewarded in the end. However, it did not seem to be correct here. Everything seemed to depend on the background and backing. Those with backing will be dragged back to be educated when they made a mistake. For example, the Afflatus King. Those without any background or backing, even if they cultivated peacefully or even if they did good deeds, they still couldn't escape death in the end. For example, the 3 monsters of Chechi country. Fang Qingshan shook his head and threw his thoughts to the back of his mind. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would turn a blind eye. Firstly, it had nothing to do with him. Secondly, it was also because of their backer, so it was better to avoid trouble. Otherwise, if they were to be slapped in the face, it would only cause more trouble. In addition, this was the normal state of the cultivation world. The weak were prey to the strong. As long as they didn't go too far and incur the wrath of the heavens, no one would care about some small matters. After crossing the Tongtian River, they arrived at the Golden Circle Mountain. Similarly, Fang Qingshan could not make a move here. Not only were the demons here not wild demons, but they were their own people. It was the Grand Supreme Elder's Mount, the Green Ox. It was also one of the most difficult demons to deal with during the journey to the west. Relying on the Grand Supreme Elder's Vajra ring, he shone brilliantly. All the gods and Buddhas could do nothing to him. If it wasn't for the Grand Supreme Elder personally coming out in the end, it would have taken some twists and turns to subdue him. However, with Fang Qingshan around this time, there was no need to trouble the Grand Supreme Elder. Fang Qingshan wanted to see if the Vajra ring or his treasure fall coin was stronger. Fang Qingshan had been looking forward to this scene for a long time. The treasure fall coin, the five-color divine light, the wondrous tree of seven treasures, and the Vajra ring. Khanate numinous treasure, Khanate mystical ability, Tao validation treasure, and postnatal merit treasure were the four treasures that were most similar to the world of desolation. Of course, this did not mean that their grades were similar, but their functions were similar. They could collect thousands of numinous treasures in the world. Back when he was in the world of gods, Feng Qingshan was tempted to use the treasure fall coin to try Kong Xian's five-color divine light. Since he was tempted, he had to take action. Otherwise, he would not be able to get what he wanted. He tossed and turned in bed leisurely. Unfortunately, at that time, his cultivation level was too low, and he could not unleash the true power of the treasure fall coin at all. Therefore, he had no choice but to give up. Regarding this, Feng Qingshan expressed his deep regret. This time, the battle with the Vajra ring, be it for merit or to fulfill his wish, he could not miss it no matter what. However, now was not the time. Like other calamities, he still had to wait. After passing the Golden Circle Mountain, he arrived at the western Liang country of women. Feng Qingshan had been admiring this place for a long time. Back then, when Feng Qingshan was still in Eternal World, he had begun coveting this place. Naturally, it was because of the Zimu River here. Anyone who drank the river water, be it male or female, would become pregnant. If this water were to appear in modern society, the hospitals that treated infertility would probably have to close down immediately. Back then, Feng Qingshan had been forced to do this due to the lack of population. Although he was no longer in such a hurry, Feng Qingshan was still curious about the Zimu River water. Generally speaking, unless there were special circumstances during pregnancy, such as when Mother Phoenix was pregnant with Kong Xian and the Great Rock, it was necessary for one to sense the yin and yang of the world and the five elements. However, the Womanland's river water had broken that rule. Thus, it was likely a wondrous water of the world. Even if it was not as good as the triple brilliance sacred water, it was still not to be underestimated. In addition to the Zimu River water, there was also the childbirth spring, which was specifically designed to counter the Zimu River water. That water was likely not to be underestimated. In addition, there was also the fetal reflection spring, which was similar to an ultrasound and could detect if one was pregnant in advance. In addition to the three types of water of the world, there were also beauties in Womanland. One was the monarch of Womanland, but she was just a mortal and had nothing to do with Feng Qingshan. The other was a demon from Pipa Cave near Xiliang country, the scorpion spirit. This demon was also someone with a background. He was from the same hometown as the Yellow Wind Monster on the Yellow Wind Ridge. They were both demons from the Western Heaven Mystical Mountain. However, compared to the Yellow Wind Monster, the scorpion spirit was not only bad-tempered, but also more brutal. She was originally at Thunder Sound Temple listening to the Buddha preach. When Rulai pushed her, she turned around and stabbed Rulai with her hook. Rulai was in unbearable pain. What kind of person was Rulai? He was originally the eldest disciple of the Jia Order, Duobao. After he was defeated in the Battle of Apotheosis, he was captured by Laozi and taught in the Great Red Sky. Later, he followed Laozi out of the Hanga Pass and became a Buddha. He became the master of Mahayana Buddhism, the Buddha of the three generations of Buddhas of Buddhism, the first person below the sage. It should be known that before he was apotheosized, he was already famous for his powerful physical body. Even compared to the sorcerer tribe, he was not much weaker. Guangqingzi had hit him with a flipping sky seal, but he had only flipped over and was not injured at all. Not to mention now, he was the leader of the three religions and became the first person below the sage. However, even so, his skin was still pierced by the poisonous hitching post of the scorpion spirit, and the pain was unbearable. Although this did not mean that the poisonous hitching post was more powerful than the heaven-flipping seal. It showed how powerful the scorpion spirit was. Although it was not as powerful as the mosquito Dorn's mouth that could pierce through anything, ordinary people would be defeated if they were not careful. Even a person like Rulai fell for it if he was not careful, let alone others. Although it might be intentional, the sharpness of the poisonous hitching post could not be denied. Chapter 735. In addition, this scorpion spirit was different from Hong Haier and the Yellow Wind Monster. She wasn't only powerful in her magical power. She used a three-pronged steel trident and was highly skilled in martial arts. When she fought, she could spit fire from her nose and smoke from her mouth. She was able to escape from Mount Numinous to Womanland under the capture of Ujra. Even if she was suspected of going easy on him, she still needed to be strong to forge iron. Without a few tricks, it would be impossible for her to go easy on him. Furthermore, after she captured Xuanzang, Monkey Sun and the rest came to rescue her. She was able to fight 1 against 2. Even when facing the joint attack of Sun Wukong and Zhu Beiji, she wasn't at a disadvantage. After fighting for a long time, there wasn't a clear winner. Unfortunately, every peck and every drink had its limits. She was able to defeat Brother Wukong, injure Buddha, and prevent Guanyin from getting close to her. When facing the Pleiades Sun Star official, she didn't even have the strength to fight back. With a cry, she revealed her true form and was even more powerful than the demon mirror. With 2 cries, her body turned limp and she became a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. How pitiful and lamentable. The clear water was clear and the cold waves were clear. A cool breeze blew and the water was calm. There were willows hanging down, revealing a few beams of thatched houses. This was the Zimu River of Womanland. The water was so clear that the bottom could be seen, and the waves were so cold that no fish could swim. Fang Qingshan didn't find it strange. After all, this Zimu River could make people pregnant after drinking it, and they could give birth in 3 days. No matter if it was a human or a demon, there was no exception. If there were fishes and prawns in this river, wouldn't it be terrible? The living things in the water couldn't live without water. After drinking it, they would become pregnant and give birth in 3 days. After giving birth, they would become pregnant again. After giving birth, they would become pregnant again. Perhaps in less than a month, the entire Zimu River would be overcrowded. In the end, the entire Zimu River might even be cut off. Fang Qingshan scooped up a handful of river water and carefully examined it. But he did not notice anything strange at all. He didn't mind it at all. After all, if the secret of the Zimu River of Womanland was so easily discovered, why would it allow him to flow here and wait for him to come and observe it? Interesting. Fang Qingshan used all kinds of methods, be it divine sense, pupil sorcery, or spirit treasure, but the conclusion he got was the same. Apart from the fact that it could make living creatures pregnant regardless of their gender, this was just an ordinary river that could be found everywhere in the Earth immortal world. However, it was also because of this that Fang Qingshan was even more certain that this item was extraordinary. The more ordinary the appearance of a divine object, the more likely it was not simple. For example, the eternal sand of time and space in the Quicksand River. The deeper one hid it, the more precious the secret would be. If he could unravel this secret, he would definitely obtain an unexpected harvest. Looks like I'll have to pay a price this time around. I'll have to do something. Fang Qingshan's eyes flashed. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and took out an oil lamp that flickered with sparks. Passing water lamp illuminates, time reverses. With Fang Qingshan's soft voice, the passing water lamp in his hand began to shine with a fluorescent light. A formless and mighty wave swept across the entire mother-child river in a mighty manner. Countless runes flickered. The power of time was flowing. Shua, in the unseen world, an incomparably vast river of time with no end or end appeared. A teacher stood by the riverbank and lamented, "The dead are like men, unwilling to part with day and night." That's right. If the prime of one's life was not repeated, it would be hard to have another morning. Time and tide wait for no man. However, at this moment, the situation seemed to have changed. The river should have flowed east and into the vast ocean. However, at this moment, the entire river actually began to flow backward. It was extremely strange. This was the peerless magic that Fang Qingshan used with the help of the passing water lamp. A space-time treasure. Time reverses. That's right, time reverses. Since he couldn't find any clues even after using all kinds of divine abilities and methods, then he would let him show it himself. When everything returned to the beginning, it would be the time to unveil the mysterious veil of the Mother-Child River. The passing water lamp was originally a very extraordinary treasure. It was something that Feng Qingshan had exchanged for in the battlefield of deities and demons in the eternal world. After fusing with the timeless ark, its power was not inferior to the death scythe. A bird in the hand was worth 1,000 birds in the bush. Magic treasures were more important than quantity. Later, in the immortal world, in the Origin Dynasty, Feng Qingshan also fused the space-time warrior and the space-time lord into it. Therefore, the power of the passing water lamp had undergone a qualitative change. Time was flowing backward, and time was reversing. Of course, this reversal did not occur in the entire world, but only in the Mother-Child River. The reversal of time had no effect on other people and places. It was as if the power of time only appeared on the Mother-Child River. However, this was normal. Even if it only affected the Mother-Child River, it was because Feng Qingshan had borrowed the power of the timeless Arkansas. If time and space were to reverse in the entire world, not to mention Feng Qingshan, even his teacher, the Lord of Tao and Virtue, or even his grandmaster, Taoist Hongjun, would not be able to do it. Then, time began to reverse. Feng Qingshan could clearly see that every year, young women above the age of 20 would come to the Mother-Child River. Day after day, year after year. He also saw that many monsters from the Western Hinyu state, and even experts who came because of its fame, were like him. They used all kinds of methods to explore the mysteries of the Mother-Child River, but in the end, they returned empty-handed. He also saw that many monsters with shallow knowledge wanted to take advantage of Womanland, but in the end, they failed and lost their lives. Time quietly reversed, and everything seemed so peaceful. Until the War of the Gods, when the 4 major states had yet to take shape, there were still no changes. However, the further he went, the more difficult it became. There seemed to be a force that hindered Feng Qingshan's exploration. At a certain moment, the scene stopped and froze. At the same time, an invisible force began to bite back. If not for Feng Qingshan borrowing the power of the timeless ark, he was afraid that this force would have seriously injured him. Of course, if he did not borrow the power of the timeless ark, he would not have been able to reach this point. Seeing this situation, Feng Qingshan was not shocked. Instead, he was delighted. Why didn't this situation occur previously? Why couldn't he continue watching it now? Everything could only mean one point, and that was that he had started to touch upon the true mysteries of the Mother-Child River. At the thought of this, Feng Qingshan quickly got the Thunder Emperor to increase the output and activate the passing water lamp with all his might. As expected, after the Thunder Emperor attacked with all his might, the scene began to change again. However, it was still very slow. Seeing this scene, Feng Qingshan knew that he needed to put in more effort. Great fate, you are everywhere and omnipotent. Nothing can hide in front of you. Feng Qingshan coordinated with the scales of fate to cast the Great Fate art and burned a large amount of his karmic luck. Chapter 736. Boom! In the unseen world, another majestic river appeared. Its source was unknown, and its destination was unknown. However, it was different from the previous river. It was the river of space-time, the river of destiny. This became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Boom! Out of nowhere, there was a loud boom. The true mysteries of the Mother-Child River began to unfold before Feng Qingshan's eyes. Blackfoal Mountain. There lived one of the most noble figures in the world, Old Mother of Blackfoal Mountain. In the entire desolation, the only ones that could match her were Tristar Crescent Cave, Mount Lingtai Fountain, Ancestral Master Subhoodie, as well as Lihan Heaven and Tishita Palace's Grand Supreme Elder Lord. Just as Feng Qingshan cast the passing water lamp and scales of destiny to summon space-time, and used the River of Destiny to unravel the mysteries of the Mother-Child River, she was immediately alarmed. There was no need for him to do any divination. With a thought, he knew what was going on. Old Mother of Blackfoal Mountain had planned on punishing Feng Qingshan, but just as she had this thought, she saw a shimmering golden bracelet appear above Fang Qingshan's head. When she saw this, she only smiled and ignored him. Fang Qingshan was completely unaware of this. He did not even notice that he had nearly been targeted by a saint. If he had known this, it was unknown if he would still have designs on the Mother-Child River. Phew, so that's how it is. That's how it is. Meanwhile, Fang Qingshan had used the River of Destiny to trace the origins of the Mother-Child River. It took him a long while to snap to his senses as he heaved a sigh of relief. Womanland was located in the Western Heliox Prefecture. What sort of place was the Western Heliox Prefecture? Other than the North Continent, it was the most active place for demons. Fiendish demons abounded in barren mountains and unruly rivers. Tripitaka's journey to the west was basically filled with demons and demons. As a result, Tripitaka eventually became a doctor due to his chronic illness. He panicked and thought that fiendish demons were present whenever he saw a tall mountain or river. In such a place, there was the Golden Button Cave in front and the Inferno Mountain behind. Apart from the fact that there were no men in Womanland, everything was peaceful. It was like an otherworldly paradise. It was a place of prosperity and peace. How was this possible? Not to mention those fiendish demons who devoured humans without spitting out their bones. Just the number of young beauties alone. Was there no one who coveted them? Needless to say, Womanland still had the three treasures: Zimu River, Reincarnation Spring, Reflection Spring. As the saying goes, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Even in the South Continent and the Great Tang, it was probably impossible to live peacefully, not to mention in a place where demons ran amok. The other one was the Scorpion Spirit. She escaped from Spirited Mountain. So why didn't she leave after arriving at Womanland instead of Blazing Mountain? Why did she give up on capturing Jin Gang, who was ordered to be captured? Fang Qingshan didn't know anything about this at first, but now he had an answer. All of this, no matter how many changes there were, was still the same. The main reason was still the backing. Because of Womanland's backing, no demon dares to cause trouble here. Because of Womanland's backing, when the Scorpion Spirit escaped here, Vajra did not dare to cross the border to capture it. As for who the backing of Womanland was, it would have to start from the origin of Womanland. What kind of place was Womanland? It was a place where women were the king and women formed the country. In an era where men were superior to women, for such a place to appear, it was obvious that their backing was women. In the desolation, although both men and women could cultivate, it was still mainly men. Although there were many female experts, there were not many that could make the demons retreat and the Buddhists avoid them. Niuhua, Hutu, Wangshu, Changshi, Shiha, Queen Mother of the West, Mother Phoenix, Jade Pool, Golden Mother. Hutu transformed into reincarnation and did not come out of the netherworld. She had died in the Great Shaman Demon War, and Mother Phoenix suppressed the Undying Volcano. Ever since the death of the Duke of the East, the Queen Mother of the West had secluded herself in West Kunlun. The Golden Mother of the Jade Pool was busy helping the Jade Emperor rectify the heavenly court. Although Wang Shu and Chang, she were also famous goddesses, they paled in comparison to the previous ones. Therefore, only Niuhua was left. Speaking of Niuhua, although she was a woman and did not have a strong presence, no one dared to look down on her. She was the only female among the 6 sages. She was involved in all 3 immeasurable tribulations. Although she was blocked at the door by Sanqing and did not participate in the Great Shaman Demon Tribulation, she shone in the subsequent mending of the heavens. Although the cause of the Great God Investiture Tribulation was Hao Ian's complaint, it started with King Zhou writing a poem. Niuhua waved the demon summoning flag and sent the 3 demons of Xianyuan Tomb to the lower realm. Later, she lent the mountain river map to Yang Jian to suppress Yuan Hong. During the great journey to the west, Monkey Sun and she were like mother and son. When the 4 sages tested their Zen heart, she personally participated with Guanyin, Manjushri, and Samantabhadra. The most important reason why she was called Niuhua was because of the Zimu River. If one wanted to get pregnant, they would need the balance of yin and yang. If that was not the case, there was only one way. That was to use the power of creation, just like how the ancient Nuwa created humans. Speaking of the power of creation, who else but Nuwa could do it? If she claimed to be second, even Hongjun would not dare to claim to be first. And the Zimu River was indeed closely related to her. Back then, when Nuwa created humans, she used the 9 heavens living soil as the mud. Some said it was blood essence, some said it was the triple light sacred water, and some said it was the spring of life. Actually, it was blood essence. However, blood essence was the foundation of a person. Naturally, it was impossible to use all blood essence. Otherwise, Nuwa would not need to become a sage and would die from blood loss. In the beginning, Nuwa used blood essence. Later on, she stirred the river water and sprinkled it with calabash vines. And the river water was the predecessor of the Zimu River. Bathed in the birth of the human race, Nuwa became a sage and was filled with the power of creation. After a few mutations, it became the Zimu River. And the ancestors of the woman land were also the descendants of the matriarchal clans back then. It was also because of these reasons that those with some background here knew that this was the territory of Nuwa. Naturally, they did not dare to make trouble here. As for the other small demons and wild demons, the woman land naturally had their own means. To forge iron, one had to be strong. Otherwise, even if he had a backer, he would just be his silk pants. The woman land was not as simple as it looked on the surface. As for the birth spring, it was even easier to explain. A poisonous snake would definitely have an antidote within 7 steps. Naturally, there was a nemesis near the Zimu River. This was where the balance of Hongjun Tiandao lied. As for the birth reflection spring, it was something else. During the Great Sorcerer and Demon War, a spiritual treasure fragment fell into the woman land and intertwined with the Zimu River. After understanding everything, what Fang Qingsha needed to do now was to plan for his own benefits. Forget about the birth reflection spring, but he definitely could not miss out on the Zimu River and birth spring. Although these 2 types of spirit water only had the effect of pregnancy and abortion when used alone, Fang Qingshan had discovered an incredible secret from the space-time backtracking just now. Chapter 737. The Zimu River water contained the power of creation. However, this power of creation had mutated and could only take effect in a human body. Most importantly, it could make people pregnant and shorten the time it took for the fetus to form. Such a useless effect was good news for those who were infertile and wanted to have children, but for those who were dedicated to cultivation, it was completely rubbish. The Zimu River water was good for infertility. Why was it good news for immortals who wanted to have children too? One thing had to be mentioned. The higher one's cultivation, the stronger one's life essence, and the more difficult it was to have children. This was vividly reflected in the great powers. Often, one would only hear about their heirs, not their descendants. In order to solve this problem, the dragons and phoenixes took an unorthodox path. As a result, there were many dragons and phoenixes. Flood dragons, coiling dragons, winged dragons, peacocks, rocks, and green wands were all products of the situation. The Jade Emperor had so many children because he had experienced 1,750 tribulations in the mortal world. Each tribulation was a yuanwei. After so many years, he had so many descendants. One could imagine how difficult it was for experts to have children. Therefore, the Zimu River water was good news for them. But then again, no one could discover the truth about the Zimu River water. The same was true for the reincarnation spring water. In order to truly discover their secrets, only when the 2 met would there be miraculous effects. Otherwise, it was just an ordinary spring water. This was why true immortal Ru Yi was the one to claim the reincarnation spring water. True immortal Ru Yi was the Bull Demon King's brother. But if there was a conflict of interest, forget the Bull Demon King's brother. Even the Bull Demon King himself would likely be robbed. Just like the quicksand river, the eternal sand of time and space was not exposed. While the 3,000-week water was not bad, it was not worth provoking the heavenly court. But once the eternal sand of time and space was exposed, few would give the heavenly court face. In fact, the real way to open the Zimu River and Reincarnation Spring water was to fuse the two together and refine them for a total of 74 days. Then, one could obtain a treasure that was as precious as the triple light sacred water, the mixed element spiritual liquid. Not only could it be used as a miraculous elixir, but it could also help one comprehend the Tao. It was similar to the Bodhi wood. Primordial chaos experts were all-encompassing. Whatever law you cultivate, after taking the primordial essence spiritual liquid, you can deepen your comprehension of that law. How could Fang Qingshan miss such a precious treasure? Moreover, Fang Qingshan wasn't willing to make a one-time deal. He wanted to make a long-term deal. If that was the case, the simplest way would be to take away the mother-child river and the fallen embryo spring. However, the fallen embryo spring was one thing, but the mother-child river was the lifeline of the entire womanland. Not only was it related to reproduction, it was also used to control luck. If you were to take all of them away, it would be the end of womanland. That was equivalent to annihilating a country. Not only would they be burdened with negative karma, but they would also form karma with Niwa. The gains did not make up for the losses. As for taking the entire womb spring, although it didn't seem like a big deal right now, the womb spring was being guarded by true immortal Rui. He was Red Boy's uncle, and Yang Qi was Red Boy's master. Moreover, the womb spring and the mother-child river were divided into yin and yang. Taking away the woman land completely would break the balance. It wouldn't be a problem in the short term, but as time passed, there would be changes. In addition, if he were to take away the womb spring, and Sun Wukong and the others came to womanland in the future, if Yang Qi was careless, wouldn't he ruin his own martial nephew? Therefore, he could only take a small part of it without damaging the foundations of the womb spring and the mother-child river. Just like the ginseng fruit tree he was planning. He planned to use the triple light sacred water to replace guanyin to save the ginseng fruit, and ask Jinyuan Zi for a branch that could be planted. He took the womb spring and the mother-child river in the same way. He took the womb spring's eye and the mother-child river's vein. As long as the roots were not broken, they could continue to grow. As long as they did not lose their vitality, they would one day be comparable to or even surpass the mother-child river and the womb spring. Fang Qingshan chose a secluded place in the mother-child river. Then, he used the timeless arc to seal the surroundings. Then he took out two treasures, the spirit-fixing pillar and the meridian-cutting scissors. The spirit-fixing pillar, as the name suggested, was used to fix all kinds of spirit veins and dragon veins. The meridian-cutting scissors was used to cut off parts of spirit veins and dragon veins. Although womanland was not as simple as it looked, they could only deal with the small monsters at most. They were still powerless against the big monsters. Therefore, although they sensed that there was something wrong with the mother-child river, they did not notice anything strange, because Fang Qingshan used the timeless arc to conceal it. In the end, they checked the mother-child river several times and did not find anything wrong. Seeing that there was nothing wrong with the mother-child river, they gave up. After collecting the mother-child river, Fang Qingshan went to the Juxian nunnery on the Jiang mountain in the south of Womanland. This was where the womb spring was. It had been taken over by immortal Ru Yi. This time, Fang Qingshan did not need to be secretive. After all, he and immortal Ru Yi were relatives. Although immortal Ru Yi's cultivation was not good, he loved his nephew very much. In the orbit, he was not willing to give Monkey Sun and the others the spring because his nephew had been subdued by guanyin. Fang Qingshan directly revealed his identity. Hearing that Fang Qingshan was Red Boy's master, immortal Ru Yi naturally welcomed him. The two exchanged greetings, and Fang Qingshan explained the purpose of his visit. If it was anyone else, they would not even be able to get a bowl of spring water without any benefits, let alone a part of the spring. After all, he had opened his business to sell the womb spring water. Dividing the spring water would destroy the foundation of the spring water. But who knew that Fang Qingshan was Red Boy's master, that he loved Red Boy so much? Of course, the most important point was that immortal Ru Yi had not discovered the true use of the womb spring. Actually, this was normal. Even his brother, the Bull Demon King, might have coveted the spring water. If he did not discover it, then what about immortal root E? Moreover, if he had really discovered its use, why would he have allowed someone to exchange for it with a mere gift? Most importantly, if he had obtained the spirit water of mixed elements, how could his cultivation be so low? Therefore, although Fong Qingshan's request was a bit difficult, as long as he did not destroy the womb spring's root and take away a part of the spring water, immortal root E did not mind. He obtained a section of the mother-child river and a part of the womb spring. However, Fong Qingshan used the two of them to directly open up an eternal sail unit. The two met and formed a yin-yang tai chi gathering in the center and dividing yin and yang. This was the spirit water of mixed elements. Chapter 738. With this sail unit, Fong Qingshan's mixed elemental spiritual liquid would be endless in the future. And there was one less step, which was that he did not need to use alchemy to refine it. It would be more natural. However, it would take a long time for them to naturally meet and collide. Fortunately, Fong Qingshan was not in a hurry to use it, and he was planning to use it slowly, so he did not mind. After obtaining the mother-child river, the reincarnation spring, a new sail unit, and a top-grade heavenly treasure, Fong Qingshan rejoiced for a while. Then, he calmed himself down and prepared to subdue the scorpion spirit. After all, he did not have much time left. Guanyin had already left, and Tripitaka's pilgrimage was about to begin. The scorpion spirit's abode, Pipa Cave of Mount Dudi, was near Womanland and not far from Mount Jiang. Fong Qingshan quickly found the place. When he arrived at the abode, he saw that the blue stone was shining, and it looked like a screen. Behind the screen were two stone doors, and on the doors were the words, Pipa Cave of Mount Dudi. There's a visitor, Taoist, please come in. Fong Qingshan opened his mouth slightly. His voice was not loud, but it traveled directly into the abode and into the scorpion spirit's ears, as if someone was whispering into her ear. Inside the Pipa Cave, the scorpion spirit was sitting cross-legged, circulating her qi. She was powerful, and the poisonous hitching post could even injure Buddha, and Guanyin did not dare to get close to her. But unlike Red Boy and Yellow Wind Monster, she never relaxed her requirements for herself. While the poisonous hitching post was powerful, it was only a technique and could only be used as a trump card and not as a foundation. The scorpion spirit, who was dedicated to the great Tao, was very clear that cultivation was the foundation of everything. Therefore, she had never slacked off in her cultivation. Even though the effects weren't obvious, it was still rather impressive after accumulating for a long time. Moreover, fortuitous encounters were rare in the end, and it was normal to put in effort. This was also why she could fight against Sun Wukong and Zhu Beiji even without using her powers. She was not like Red Boy and the rest. Once her powers were broken, she was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Her skills were normal. He had been in Dudi Mountain's Pai Pa Cave for so many years, but this was the first time someone had come knocking on his door. The scorpion spirit was very curious. In a flash, it arrived at the entrance of the cave abode. He saw a beautiful and delicate face, a golden pearl beauty, as beautiful as a beauty, graceful and graceful, soft as jade and warm fragrance, fragrant skin, 10 slender fingers like spring onions. What a beautiful woman. Fong Qingshan could be considered to be experienced and knowledgeable. He had seen many beauties, but the scorpion spirit still had a unique brilliance that was different from other beauties. This made Fong Qingshan sigh. Who is the Taoist? Why do you come to my Pipa Cave? The scorpion spirit also sized up this Taoist who had come looking for him. Seeing that he was not hostile and had the image of an elegant and handsome man. Most importantly, he sensed a threat from Fong Qingshan's body. His eyes flickered and he went straight to the point. I am Fong Qingshan, and I have come especially for the Taoist life. Fong Qingshan was still doing his old tricks. If he did not fight first, he would first threaten, even though he was telling the truth. If Fong Qingshan did not come, according to the original trajectory, the scorpion spirit would not be able to escape death in the end. Actually, this was already decided from the moment he stabbed Tathagata. Who was Tathagata? He was the master of Buddhism, the number one person in the world below the saints. He had been slapped in the face in front of everyone. One could imagine how great the karma was. The reason why the scorpion spirit could live so peacefully for so long was because of the journey to the West. Otherwise, did you think that Tathagata was in so much pain that he could not even take down the scorpion spirit? He was underestimating the number one person below the saints who had achieved great success in the three religions. Good medicine was bitter, but good advice was unpleasant to the ear. However, sometimes telling the truth was really not so flattering. However, after hearing Fong Qingshan's words, the scorpion spirit, who had thought that this little brother was not bad, suddenly had a cold expression, but then returned to normal. However, a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes, and he asked with a smile, "Could it be that little brother wants to do justice on behalf of heaven and kill demons? If I wanted to take your life, do you think I would still be chatting with you here?" Fong Qingshan shook his head and asked, "Oh, that's even more strange. Since it's not little brother who wants to take my life, who else?" The scorpion spirit's expression softened, and he asked lazily, "The Taoist is a forgetful person. Indeed, one could only be a thief for 1,000 days, but not guard against a thief for 1,000 days." The scorpion spirit slacked off. Seeing this scene, Fong Qingshan could not help but sigh secretly. Don't you know that you are still carrying a huge karma? Although it's usually fine, it doesn't mean that it's over. Once it erupts, it will be a life and death calamity. Hearing this, the scorpion spirit's expression instantly changed. His expression changed faster than flipping a page. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "Who are you? How do you know all these?" After peacefully cultivating in womanland for so many years, the scorpion spirit had almost forgotten about injuring Gautama and fleeing to the ends of the world. It was unknown if it was because the heavens had concealed her or she had intentionally avoided it. At this moment, hearing Fong Qingshan's reminder, he suddenly woke up and felt that a murderous calamity was about to descend. Could it be that the Buddhists really dare to intrude into womanland to commit murder? Back then, the scorpion spirit had escaped from Spirited Mountain all the way to womanland because she had already planned it. This was because the secret of womanland was no longer a secret after reaching a certain realm. She knew that in Shiha Oxstate, there were only a few places like womanland where she could stay and escape from the pursuit of the Buddhists. As expected, after she arrived at womanland, Jing'an's pursuit stopped abruptly. At the very beginning, she was still a little worried and was always careful. After a long time, seeing that there was no movement from the Buddhists, she thought that the matter had already been settled. However, she did not expect that it was not that they did not want to take revenge, but that the time had not yet come. "I'm Fong Qingshan from Ren School. As for why I know all these, does the Taoist think that no one knows that he has done such an earth-shattering thing?" Fong Qingshan smiled. "Ren School?" The scorpion spirit looked at Fong Qingshan in surprise and asked after staying silent for a while, "You and I are not related. Why did you save me?" He did not doubt the truth in Fong Qingshan's words. Because there was no need. There was just one thing. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Although the scorpion spirit had sensed his murderous calamity, he did not trust Fong Qingshan that much. Naturally, it's because saving the Taoist is beneficial to me. Fong Qingshan did not hide anything because there was no need for him to do so. Instead, it would only add to his troubles. Therefore, he revealed his purpose in full detail. "I see." After listening to Fong Qingshan's explanation, the scorpion spirit was suddenly enlightened. At the same time, she believed Fong Qingshan's words even more. Only enough benefits could make all of this happen. She originally thought that the Buddhists would continue to send experts to kill her. However, she did not expect the killing intent to come from the West team. Chapter 739. The scorpion spirit had naturally heard about the journey to the West. However, she did not expect that the real purpose was actually this: to make up for the ancestral veins of the West, to eliminate the demons and ghosts of the Western Heok state. As for the meat of Tripitaka, it was not that she did not covet it. If not for Fang Qingshan's reminder, although the scorpion spirit was committed to the great Tao, she would not have let go of this opportunity. After all, hard cultivation was not the way to cultivate the great Tao. Opportunities were also a very important part. Who didn't have a few fortuitous encounters when they were successful? Unfortunately, this seemingly fortuitous meet of Tripitaka was actually a trap that had been set long ago. The net was ready. If she did not injure Tathagata, she might be able to escape by luck on account of the fact that she was a demon of the spiritual mountain, just like the yellow wind monster of the Yellow Wind Ridge. However, because of the karma of Tathagata, she would definitely die if she fell into it. Without Fang Qingshan, no matter how powerful her cultivation was, no matter how powerful her mystical abilities were, she would not be able to resist fate. How is it? Taoist, have you thought about it? Fang Qingshan looked at the silent scorpion spirit and asked. In that case, I'll have to trouble the Taoist. Although the scorpion spirit was a woman, she was very decisive and directly worshipped Fang Qingshan. She knew that this was her only chance of survival. If not for Fang Qingshan's desire for the merit and luck of the journey to the west, the others would not have risked defending Tathagata to save her. Although the scorpion spirit was powerful and injured Tathagata, made Guanyin not dare to approach and repelled Monkey Sunday. It was ferocious. However, once it encountered its natural enemy, the Pleiades star official, it would really be beyond redemption. Okay. Don't worry, Taoist, I'll handle everything. Fang Qingshan said, okay, thrice. The more powerful the cultivation of the demon, the more trouble it would bring to the journey to the West team, and the more merit they could get after surviving the disaster. With the scorpion spirit's means, regardless of Dharma treasures, she was already a rare expert in the Western Heok state. He was naturally very happy to be able to provide a considerable amount of luck and merit for Fang Qingshan. The harvest from Womanland was not small. Not only had he opened up a sale unit, but he had also obtained a top-grade treasure like the mixed element spiritual liquid. One had to know that this sale unit was also a blessed land. The birth spring could be used as a sacred ground for body tempering, while the Zimu River could also be used as a sacred ground for healing. Mount Jiang, where true immortal Ru Yi was, Fang Qingshan could also make use of Red Boy to earn merit and fate. He had also subdued the scorpion spirit. Not only did he gain an expert as his subordinate, the karmic luck she provided was probably not any worse than the Black Bear demon. Now that his daughter's country was settled, it was time for the real and fake Monkey King to face a crisis. However, this difficulty put Fang Qingshan in a difficult position. Because he did not have a fixed location, Fang Qingshan could not find any trace of Six-Eared Macaque. One had to know that Six-Eared Macaque's abilities were no weaker than Monkey Sunday. Furthermore, he was one of the 4 spiritual monkeys of chaos. He was born beyond the 3 realms and did not belong to the 5 elements. He could not calculate at all. It was not that he did not have the means to calculate, but it was very troublesome. He needed to use the power of fate to guide him, and he also needed to use money for divination. It was too much of a hassle. It was not that the gains made up for the losses. It was better for him to keep a closer eye on him and make a move before Monkey Sun and the others went to the Buddha to identify him. Therefore, he did not plan to find any traces of Six-Eared Macaque. He prepared to head to the next stage. After passing Women's Country, he arrived at the Flaming Mountain. That was Princess Iron Fan's territory. It could also be said that it was the territory of Rin School. They were all on the same side. It was the same as true immortal Root E, Gold Horn, Silver Horn, and Green Bull. There was no need for too much planning. They only needed to appear at the last moment to resolve the situation. After passing Flaming Mountain, he arrived at Jisai Country. Fang Qingshan was about to rush to Jisai Country when he suddenly heard someone calling him from behind. Taoist, please wait. Hearing this, Fang Qingshan stumbled and almost fell to the ground. His expression changed. Indeed, he had walked through the great war of the gods. He had truly seen the power of this sentence. He did not dare to say that Jieskul would scatter because of this sentence. However, It was also a fuse, causing many disciples of Jie school to fly into the fire like moths to a flame. However, after becoming a god, Shun Gongbao was appointed as the water-dividing general and was sent to the North Ocean Reclamation Eye. Could it be that he has been released again? Fang Qingshan's heart trembled. It was not that he was afraid, but that sentence was even worse than the god of plagues. It was definitely a jinx. He did not want to get involved at all. Fang Qingshan almost couldn't hold himself back and used his rainbow transformation technique to fly away. Although it was only for a moment, thousands of thoughts flashed through Fang Qingshan's mind. When he wanted to do something, he saw a monkey head in front of him. At first glance, Fang Qingshan thought that Monkey Sun had been born in advance. However, upon closer inspection, he realized that the two of them were very different, especially the monkey head in front of him, which had 6 ears. Seeing this scene, how could Fang Qingshan not know who it was? It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Initially, he thought that since he could not find the 6-eared macaque, he would wait for it to come to him. In the future, he would keep a close eye on the real and fake Monkey King and resolve the calamity before Rulai made his move. However, he did not expect that before he could find the 6-eared macaque, the 6-eared macaque had come to him. So it's you. May I know why the Taoist is blocking my way? Fang Qingshan was overjoyed in his heart, but his expression was calm as he asked, "The Taoist really does know me. I beg the Taoist to save my life. I am also willing to join the Taoist." When the 6-eared macaque heard Fang Qingshan's words, his eyes instantly lit up and he hurriedly begged. Among the 4 chaotic spiritual monkeys, Monkey Sun was born during the journey to the west. As for the other 3, they were born long ago. Wu Zixi was born during the ancient 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. Yuan Hong was born during the god investiture period of Yin Shang. The 6-eared macaque was born during the primordial era. However, he also had the worst ending out of the 4. All of this stemmed from saying, when he was just born, he was like a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. He did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually tried to use his natural mystique to listen to the teachings of the Daozu. Not only was he punished by the Daozu, but he also left behind the words, "The teachings should not be passed on to 6 ears." As a result, the 6-eared macaque only managed to steal his abilities during the journey to the west. Moreover, he did not know that all of this was already planned by the other party. The 4 chaotic spiritual monkeys basically knew that they were destined to face a tribulation, and they all tried their best to resolve it. Wu Zixi used the hands of the human emperor. He successfully escaped. Yuan Hong wanted to use the human emperor dynasty and the great god investiture tribulation to overcome his tribulation, but he failed at the last step. Fortunately, he managed to preserve his life. The 6-eared macaque was the worst. He wanted to replace the Monkey Sun and integrate into Buddhism. He used Buddhism and the journey to the West's merit and fate to offset his tribulation. Unfortunately, the Monkey Sun was the most irreplaceable person in the journey to the West. As a result, not only did he not succeed, but he also triggered the backlash of Buddhism and the journey to the West's merit and fate. He died. Chapter 740. In the journey to the West, many people shone brilliantly. The unwavering Tripitaka, Sun Wukong, who fought against the heavens and earth, Guanyin, who was timely, the Green Bull, who looked down on all heroes. However, the only one who could not be replaced was probably Sun Wukong. Even Tripitaka could be replaced. The reason for this was that the fundamental goal of the journey to the West had to be mentioned, to repair the ancestral veins of the West. And to achieve this goal, the 2 saints of the West took advantage of the prosperity of Buddhism and the opportunity of heaven and earth to use Sun Wukong's heavenly luck and the luck of the demon race as a guide. The path that the Journey to the West team took was where the ancestral veins of the Western Ox state were. The 81 tribulations were the 81 nodes of the ancestral veins. Every time a tribulation was completed, a node would be repaired. When all the tribulations were completed, it would be the day of completion. Therefore, the six-eared macaque found the right direction, but the wrong person. Although he and Sun Wukong were both the four spiritual monkeys of chaos, other than cultivation, they were far inferior in everything else. Sun Wukong was the heaven-mending stone and was born with heavenly luck. This alone was irreplaceable. He was like a mother to Nuwa, and his master was Patriarch Subhoodie. It was also because of this that he could rob the Dragon Palace, break into the underworld, and wreak havoc in the heavenly court. Otherwise, even if the Dragon Palace was the weakest, how could Sun Wukong, who was not even a grand heavenly immortal, act so presumptuously? No matter how weak the Dragon Clan was, they still had the sacred beast Azure Dragon who guarded the east. It was also because Sun Wukong relied on his background to accomplish unprecedented feats. Therefore, he became the idol of all demons and was called the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal. Although he was not a demon emperor, he also gathered more than half of the luck of all demons in the world. The six-eared macaque did not know any of this. Like the other wild demons of the Western Ox state, he thought that the journey to the west and Tripitaka were as simple as they seemed. He did not know that he was in hell. He did not think about it. After so many years, so many experts were unwilling to sever their karma with the Tao ancestor. Why did they let him secretly learn all his skills now? This was actually the same as Yuan Hong. In the end, it was to help Sun Wukong. Back then, when Yang Jian had just been born, someone had taken a liking to his aptitude and had secretly placed a copy of the 8-9 arcane art beside him. Unfortunately, man proposes, but God disposes. As soon as he left, Yuan Hong, the ape with a pair of legs, arrived. He secretly learned the divine skill and formed a bond of karma with Yang Jian. In the end, he was trapped by Yang Jian with a stately painting and killed by the immortal slaying flying saber. 6 Ears Macaque was the same. However, Yuan Hong's luck was good. He could still enter the divine seal decree. Although he was only a 4-star trash, it was still better to live than to die a good death. 6 Ears Macaque, on the other hand, was different. He died instantly. Speaking of which, if the 6-eared macaque wanted to make use of the journey to the west, it would naturally need to pay attention to the journey to the west. After all, there wouldn't be many opportunities to take advantage of the situation. He had been paying attention to Fong Qing Shan for a long time. From the black bear monster to the scorpion spirit today. In the beginning, the 6-eared macaque didn't pay much attention. However, as Fong Qing Shan's actions increased, everything he did and said made the 6-eared macaque feel uneasy. Especially today, when Fong Qing Shan mentioned the calamity of the scorpion spirit. He also felt the same way and thought of himself. It wasn't that he didn't want revenge, but it wasn't time yet. At that moment, the 6-eared macaque thought of many things. However, he realized that the only way to survive was with Fong Qing Shan. Therefore, after Fong Qing Shan left the Peepa Cave, the 6-eared macaque immediately appeared to ask for help. It wasn't that he was impatient, but anyone who had a saber hanging over their head that could fall at any time would do the same. Being watched by the 6-eared macaque for so long, Fong Qing Shan didn't notice. Firstly, the 6-eared macaque didn't have any ill intentions. This didn't raise Fong Qing Shan's guard. Secondly, his supernatural powers were really strong. This was also why the 6-eared macaque dared to use his supernatural powers to eavesdrop on Daozu's teachings. Secondly, he didn't notice this at all. He didn't know that while he was looking for the 6-eared macaque, the 6-eared macaque was also secretly watching him. That was why the 6-eared macaque found a loophole. Are you sure I can help you? You should know that your karma is much more troublesome than the scorpion spirits. Fong Qing Shan looked at the 6-eared macaque with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Also, why should I help you? What's in it for me to help you? Of course you can help me. Your cultivation level and identity are proof of that. The 6-eared macaque didn't care about Fong Qing Shan's expression and said seriously. As for the great karma you're talking about, it's nothing more than Daozu's words. However, Daozu is already fused with Hongjun Tiandao. Unless there's a cataclysm, he won't care about such a small matter. You're his direct descendant, so you're the most suitable person to cut off your karma. As for why you should help me, since the scorpion spirit and the black bear can help you earn merit and luck, I can do the same in my cataclysm. Also, my talent is above theirs." After saying all this, the six-eared macaque looked at Fong Qingshan, waiting for his decision. Actually, for the merit and luck of Journey to the West, even if the six-eared macaque didn't look for Fong Qingshan would have looked for the six-eared macaque. Therefore, when the six-eared macaque came to him, Fong Qingshan had already made up his mind to take him in. As for Daozu's curse of not passing the law to anyone else, actually, it was just a small punishment for the six-eared macaque. Daozu did not take it to heart at all. After all, so many years had passed, and it was already a punishment. The reason why the others were unwilling to impart the six-eared macaque's great Dao was because, apart from the Dao ancestor, it was also because the Dao could not be passed down personally. Who would be willing to let an unrelated person learn their inheritance for nothing? Moreover, it was stolen. It was already good enough that he wasn't punished, yet he still wanted to learn from him? What wishful thinking! Most importantly, it was not profitable, and there were no benefits. On the other hand, although the six-eared macaque had good potential as one of the four spiritual monkeys of chaos, he still had to face a calamity in his life. If he could not overcome it, everything would be over. As such, he couldn't see the future, and it was full of trouble. Who would be willing to help him? However, Fong Qingshan had no such concerns. Just as the six-eared macaque had said, if other monsters could bring him merit and luck, he could take them in. Naturally, he could take in the six-eared macaque as well. In the end, it was all about profit. Otherwise, who would be willing to help someone who wasn't related to you? Did you think everyone in the world was your parents? Even if there was, you would probably suspect it yourself. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. All right, without hesitation, Fong Qingshan spat out the word. "Thank you, young master." The six-eared macaque was stunned for a moment. He blinked his eyes, as if he couldn't believe that Fong Qingshan would agree so easily. After all, he had been rejected too many times over the years. Then he cried tears of joy. He bawled loudly, as if he was about to cry out all the grievances he had suffered all these years. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but feel emotional. Looking at the entire Desolation Network, there were probably only a handful of people who had it worse than the six-eared macaque. Chapter 741. But was all over now. Bitterness was endless, but not endless. Only when the bitterness was over would one know that it was worth it. Ever since Fong Qingshan accepted the six-eared macaque, his fate had changed. Originally, his destined star was dim, which meant that he would not be able to survive the great tribulation of the journey to the West. However, his fate star was currently burning with a layer of raging flames, and one could faintly hear the sound of phoenix cries. A phoenix bathed in fire and was reborn. As long as the six-eared macaque could survive the journey to the West tribulation, he would soar into the sky. He would not be inferior to the sun Wukong. This was also the reason why Fong Qingshan helped him. It was not just because of the merit and luck of the journey to the West. It was also because, after this tribulation, the six-eared macaque would become a hidden dragon. The luck of the four spiritual monkeys of chaos, which he had inherited from the chaos demon ape, would explode completely. That way, the luck that Fong Qingshan could share would not be any less than that of Bo Yikao, or even better. After all, although Bo Yikao was Empress Myrtle Star, he could not control the Zhodian star like Dijun could. Because all the stars in the sky came from the Jie school, they only listened to the Kan Palace Domu, the goddess of golden spirit. Not to mention Bo Yikao. Even the Jade Emperor's words depended on the situation. Therefore, his position as an emperor was only in name. Naturally, he did not have as much luck as he had imagined. Six-eared? Are you sure you are not making fun of me? In the sky, a rainbow light and a white cloud descended. Two figures appeared, one human and one monkey. They were Fong Qingshan and the six-eared macaque. They looked a little travel-worn. Looking at the barren hill before him, Fong Qingshan carefully sized it up. However, he did not discover anything. Then he used the same trick. Just like when he was led by the black bear to find the 100 Flowers Valley, Fong Qingshan shook the space, trying to find a flaw. But it was in vain. Just like when they were searching for the Zimu River, no matter how hard they tried, they could not find anything. Fong Qingshan could not help but look at Six-Eared Macaque with an unfriendly expression. As for what was going on, it all started with Fong Qingshan agreeing to take in Six-Eared Macaque and help him resolve the crisis. The calamity that befell the Six-Eared Macaque was not just because someone had schemed against him. The karma of imparting skills to him was similar to that of Yuan Hong. The relationship between him and Sun Wukong was different from that between Yuan Hong and Yang Jian, because they were the four spiritual monkeys of chaos. How did the four spiritual monkeys of chaos come about? Actually, they were originally divided into 4 parts by the chaos demon ape. It was just like how Pangu's blood essence was divided into 120% into Zhu Wu, and his vital spirit was divided into 3 parts into Sanqing. If one of them devoured the other 3, they would have a chance to return to their roots. Not only would they not become a chaos demon ape, but their aptitude, cultivation base, providence, and other aspects would also improve significantly. The reason why the 12 ancestors of sorcery did not do so was because they valued brotherhood and friendship. Other than other reasons, Sanqing did it because of the merit of creation. The 4 spiritual monkeys of chaos did not have such concerns. However, after Wu Zhiqi used Yu the Great to transcend the tribulation, he disappeared without a trace. Yuan Hong did not transcend the great God-confirmant tribulation and died on the list. His bloodline and providence were all lost. The only one left was Six-Eared Macaque. He was stupid enough to eavesdrop on Patriarch Subhoodie's Tao. Who else would he plot against if not you? If Sun Wukong devoured Six-Eared Macaque, his origin would be enhanced. His aptitude was good to begin with. If he could devour Six-Eared Macaque, he might be able to catch up to the Khanate gods. This was also why Guanyin did not think much of Six-Eared Macaque, even though he was better than the black bear. It was to help Sun Wukong. Therefore, Sun Wukong killed Six-Eared Macaque in front of Tathagata. Could it be that Tathagata could not react in time? Clearly, he was just helping him. In Journey to the West, demons without any background basically only had one path: death. In addition, there was the karma with Daozu and Sun Wukong. Fong Qingshan did so many things for Six-Eared Macaque. Although it was for merit and providence, it was a win-win situation. However, Six-Eared Macaque, who had been treated coldly for so many years, felt that there was true love in the world for the first time. As the saying goes, "Give me a peach, and I will repay you with a jade." Six-Eared Macaque was not a cold-hearted person. He naturally knew how to be grateful. Therefore, Six-Eared Macaque decided to repay Fong Qingshan. How would he repay him? The 4 elements of cultivation were wealth, companion, method, and place. Unfortunately, either Fong Qingshan did not care for them or Six-Eared Macaque did not have them. Fortunately, he knew many secrets. Since ancient times, Six-Eared Macaque had wandered around in order to avoid disasters and seek Tao. Although he did not learn anything, he had discovered many secrets with his supernatural powers. This was the saying, having an old man at home was like having a treasure. What were these secrets? They were actually places where treasures were hidden, especially in the primordial era. During the primordial era, treasures could be found anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, although Six-Eared Macaque could discover them, he could only watch. After all treasures were either protected by a formation or a guardian spirit beast. With his cultivation at that time, if there was a guardian spirit beast, he would be sending himself to his death. He would not be able to get the treasure, but he would have to sacrifice himself. As for those protected by a formation, it was even more impossible for him to venture into them. If it was just a maze or illusion formation, it would be fine. But if it was a killing formation, Six-Eared did not understand formations. Even if he did, he would definitely die due to his limited cultivation. As for trying his luck and activating the protagonist's halo, after Daozu said that the law should not be passed to Six-Eared Macaque, everything was in vain. Unless he could survive the calamity in his life, he would never want to have good luck. After suffering a big loss, he did not dare to act recklessly anymore. Therefore, He could only remember those places and plan to seek treasures in the future when his cultivation was high enough. Sadly, dreams are beautiful, but reality is cruel. With the outbreak of the calamity and the change in the world, many of the places that he remembered to have treasures were either found and taken away, or the mountains and rivers were destroyed and the land was shifted. Fong Qingshan followed Six-Eared Macaque to dozens of places, but all the treasures were gone. He did not find anything. Originally, when Fong Qingshan first heard about this, his blood rushed to his head, and he was so excited that he almost fainted. But as time went on, and he was hit again and again, he went from ecstatic to almost giving up. How was that possible? Master, Six-Eared Macaque would not dare to make fun of you. Six-Eared Macaque shook his head like a rattle drum and said with determination. The reason why he told Fong Qingshan about these places was because he was grateful and wanted to repay him. Secondly, he was cunning and did not think it was safe. He wanted Fong Qingshan to value him more for the sake of these treasures. Why would he do something so stupid as to make fun of him? Chapter 742. In fact, Six-Eared did not expect to encounter such a blunder. He was about to cry. Anyone who knew where there were many treasures would be depressed to the point of vomiting blood when the treasures were gone, especially now when he needed to use these treasures. However, he did not expect that for various reasons, it had all turned into bubbles. If he did not know that Six-Eared would not do it on purpose, even if he did not give up on Six-Eared, he would probably have a knot in his heart. Therefore, Six-Eared had actually gone to more than a dozen places in a row in vain. Phew! After a while, Six-Eared once again explored this place and could not help but let out a long sigh of relief. This was because this place had not been robbed by others, nor had there been any changes due to the changes in heaven and earth. This place was exactly the same as what he had seen in the past. This also meant that there were treasures here. At least his trip was not in vain. Young master here. Six-Eared Macaque moved his ears and pointed to a place and said to Fong Qingshan. Oh, seeing this, Fong Qingshan was also delighted. He looked in the direction of Six-Eared Macaque's finger and scanned with his divine senses, but he still did not find anything. He did not care about this. If it was so easy to find, how could it be their turn? Appear. Fong Qingshan used his fingers as a sword and wiped them across his eyes. In an instant, golden light erupted from his pupils, and he looked at a bull. In his left and right eyes, black and white alternated, and the sun rose and the moon set. Yin-yang eye. This mystique was originally the same as the heaven and earth furnace, imitating the yin-yang mirror in Qi Jingzi's hands. Later, Fong Qingshan integrated various pupil techniques, great yin-yang technique, and other mystique laws into it, evolving it into a top-notch pupil technique. It was even better than Monkey Sun's fiery golden eyes. Fong Qingshan pushed the yin-yang eye to the extreme. Yin and yang alternated, evolving into the 5 elements. The 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other, changing heaven and earth, wind and thunder, water and fire, mountains and lakes, and the 8 trigrams. Then the stars shone brightly, and the sky shone. Finally, everything returned to one, and there was chaos. A ray of gray light shot out and fell on the place where Six-Eared Macaque was pointing. Fong Qingshan finally found this node. Ooh! Seeing this, Fong Qingshan felt a burst of excitement in his heart. He had run to more than a dozen places for nothing. Finally, the heavens did not disappoint those who waited, and he had gained something. This time, Fong Qingshan was not as impulsive as when he explored the 100 Flowers Valley. On the one hand, he had learned from his mistakes and learned from his mistakes. Although he didn't suffer any losses at the 100 Flowers Valley, he had alerted the enemy. If the enemy was so powerful that he couldn't deal with them, wouldn't he be walking into a trap? Furthermore, if there really was a treasure here, a great treasure at that, breaking the formation to obtain, it would cause a huge commotion. If another precious treasure were to be born and the light of the treasure soared into the sky, then all his efforts would have been in vain, and he would be working for someone else. Therefore, before retrieving the treasure, it was necessary to prepare well. The sky has 5 stars, and the earth has 5 directions. The 5 elements seal the heavens and lock the earth. Fang Qingshan exclaimed softly as he withdrew his top-grade Khanate spirit treasure, the 5-element spirit pearl. He set up the Khanate 5 directions array. Although the array formation was incomplete and the true Khanate 5 directions array was within the Khanate 5 directions flags, it should be sufficient to seal off any commotion and aura. As a precaution, Fang Qingshan even took out the Mystic Essence Water Control flag and threw it into the array formation to suppress the array core. That way, even if an expert discovered this place, he would be able to stall for some time in order to break the array. After doing all that, it was time to reveal the true face of this place. Break! Fang Qingshan formed a sword with his fingers as his fingertips shimmered with a faint light. The world turned dark, as though all the light had been retracted or concealed. A sparkling and translucent peacock, all that resembled crystal glaze, materialized at Fang Qingshan's fingertips. 5 elements all. This was the second intrinsic divine power that Fang Qingshan had developed after breaking through to the golden immortal realm. It was similar to the mosquito Doran's mouthpiece. There was nothing it couldn't break, especially when it came to breaking seals. Go! Fang Qingshan pointed from afar, and the 5 elements all flew out of his hand, stabbing into the node that the yin-yang I had seen earlier. Puffed! It was like a balloon that had been popped. Pull one hair, and the whole thing would move. Then, with the node as the center, wisps and wisps of white mist began to spread out. Soon, the clouds were so thick that one couldn't even see their fingers. Looking at the surroundings, they saw that the world had changed without a sound. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan and Six-Eared Macaque were not surprised. Instead, they were delighted, because in this situation, it meant that their efforts were not in vain. There was movement and an array formation. It meant that they had come to the right place. The stronger the array formation, the more precious the treasure. Next is to break the array. Fang Qingshan stood where he was without moving, but his eyes showed that he could see through everything. It wasn't just Fang Qingshan. Even Six-Eared Macaque didn't stay idle. Although he didn't know much about arrays, his talent was very sharp. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to find such a well-hidden treasure. Unfortunately, as the two's primordial spirit began to scan the surroundings, it was like a giant net that covered the entire space. But after a thorough search, they found very little. It was as if they were in a valley surrounded by clouds and fog. There was nothing out of the ordinary. However, the fact that there was nothing out of the ordinary was the biggest anomaly. At this point, how could Fang Qingshan believe that this was an ordinary place? Fang Qingshan didn't rush around in the array. Instead, he sat down and calmed himself down. Then he took out the 3 treasures: the observatory, the passing water lamp, and the treasure-dropping coin. The observatory was a unit in the timeless Arkansas. Through him, one could predict 500 years in the past and 500 years in the future. Heaven and earth, life and death, yin and yang, there was nothing he didn't know. Of course, although it was a bit exaggerated, with his help, it was much easier to predict the array. He took out the passing water lamp because he wanted to use it to change time so that he would have enough time to predict and break the array. After all, to break a natural array like this wasn't something that could be done in a short amount of time. Once he was immersed in it, he wouldn't be able to wake up until a certain point. If something like this happened and he missed the journey to the west, then it wouldn't be worth it. After all, the journey to the west was related to the immortal world's gate of eternal life. As for the treasure-dropping coin, it was a treasure that was used to help with predictions. The treasure-dropping coin had more than just the ability to drop treasures. As a rich person, his most fundamental ability was that money could move the gods. Actually, the treasure-dropping coin was something that money could do. As a copper coin, it was similar to a tortoiseshell. It was the most suitable treasure for divination and predictions. Although it couldn't compare to the Book of Luo river diagram, it was the most suitable and powerful treasure that Fang Qingshan had. Fang Qingshan wanted to predict arrays. With this treasure's help, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Chapter 743. On the stargazing platform, the Jodion star shone brightly. It was as dazzling as the grains of sand in the Ganges River. The passing water lantern hung high with a wick. Its brilliance was like water, like smoke covering the cold water and the moon covering the sand. The entire space seemed to have stopped. One couldn't feel the flow of time. It was as if time had stopped at this moment forever. Of course, this wasn't true space-time stopping. It was difficult to achieve true space-time stopping, and it couldn't be maintained for long. Even with the timeless arc activating the passing water lantern, it was almost impossible to achieve this. However, it also reduced the flow of time to the minimum. Of course, the only thing that didn't change was Feng Qingshan's thoughts. The Bodhi tree flew out of the Khanate's small world and landed on his Niwen palace Yuanshan. Rays of golden light fell, dense like water. The heavenly sounds were endless, like dew under the eaves. It made Feng Qingshan Yuanshan clear and transparent like never before. In his eyes, billions of talismans flashed. They were all formation runes colliding and deducing. In his mind, the 10 most basic formations, Monuan, Yin-Yang, Tripartite, were madly intertwining and grinding. No matter how much they changed, they were still the same. No matter how powerful a formation was, it was still formed from the fusion of these 10 basic formations. Even the Jodion Star Array, the 12 Divine Fiends Array, and the Fairy Slaying Sword Array were no exception. The Khanate formation before him was naturally the same. From time to time, he would toss out the Treasure Fall coin. It was used to detect the life gate of the formation before him. Feng Qingshan knew a little about formations. He had even seen the Yin and Yang Dust Sword Array, the 9-turn Yellow River Array, the 10 Ultimate Arrays, the Khanate 5 Directions Array, and even the Fairy Slaying Sword Array. However, it was still beyond his ability to break through a Khanate formation in a short period of time. In order to increase the efficiency, Feng Qingshan used all his means. He even multitasked, using the six-eared macaque's heart and heart to borrow his six-eared talent. Time passed slowly. Perhaps it was just a moment, or perhaps it was thousands of reincarnations. Of course, not much time had passed in the outside world. However, with the support of the passing water lamp, Feng Qingshan had experienced thousands of years. At some point, Feng Qingshan finally woke up from his intoxication. When he opened his eyes, they were filled with the vicissitudes of life. Oh! Feng Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief. It took him a while to recover, and his face lit up with joy. Has young master figured out how to break the formation? Six-eared macaque was delighted to see this. Not bad. Feng Qingshan nodded. He looked at the hexa-ear with satisfaction. Through cracking the formation, Feng Qingshan knew that there must be an extraordinary treasure hidden inside. This could be seen from his protective formation. If Feng Qingshan had not used the passing water lantern to change the time, if he had not had the six-eared macaque's innate power, the Treasure Fall coin, a top-grade Khanate spiritual treasure, and if he had not had the observatory, a place that was suitable for deduction, Feng Qingshan might not have succeeded even if he had spent all the time since ancient times. If it wasn't for the hexa-ear, how could he have had the chance to obtain such an extraordinary treasure? On the other hand, he was satisfied with the hexa-ear's temperament. As the saying goes, a monkey is the most restless and restless. This was why the Monkey King had to be suppressed for 500 years and put on the band-tightening curse. Part of it was a punishment, but more importantly, it was to sharpen his mind. The corresponding power required the corresponding state of mind. Otherwise, it would be easy to fall into the demonic path. This was also why Feng Qingshan didn't force a breakthrough, even though he had so many resources. However, Six-Eared Macaque stayed with him for so long without saying a word or moving. He didn't feel the slightest bit restless. In fact, the reason why Six-Eared Macaque had such a temperament was because of the accumulation of time and the predicament he had been in all these years. When the heavens were about to assign a great responsibility to a man, it would first torture his mind, tire his muscles and bones, starve his skin, empty his body, and mess up his actions. Therefore, he had to be patient and do what he couldn't do. It was indeed sincere. Then quickly open the formation and see what's hidden inside. Six-eared macaque urged. All right. Fang Qingshan readily agreed. He also wanted to know what kind of extraordinary treasure was hidden behind the formation. Open. Fang Qingshan's hands danced in the air, forming a series of thousands of hand seals as he softly chanted. Buzz. The entire space seemed to tremble. Then, the thick fog retreated like the tide. When they looked again, it was a different world. However, Fang Qingshan and the six-eared macaque didn't care about it. At this moment, they were attracted by an ancient stone bridge in the middle of the formation. They could see this item. The blue stone bridge had 5 steps. They were modeled and ancient, and they carried supreme profundities. They were profound, and they actually emitted the same aura as Huangfu Higgins' Permethau boat, but it was even more majestic and profound. Fang Qingshan walked forward and placed his hand on it. A vast amount of information was transmitted to Fang Qingshan's soul. Suddenly, Fang Qingshan had a clear understanding of this treasure. The Otherworld Bridge. Yes, this treasure was called the Otherworld Bridge. It was a top primordial spirit treasure, and it was no weaker than the Death Scythe. Although this item's attacks weren't very strong, it was like the Tai Chi Golden Bridge. It had the ability to suppress earth, wind, water, and fire. Plus, the Otherworld Bridge had the power to break worlds. One could use this bridge to cross the boundaries of heaven and earth. Wherever one wanted to go, one could go wherever one wanted to go. In other words, this was a space transportation treasure. It wasn't any weaker than a space door. With this item, the timeless arc speed could be greatly increased. Good, good, good. Fang Qingshan said good 3 times. He wanted to get a top-class primordial spirit treasure. It was also because this item was compatible with the timeless Arkansas. It didn't have the same name as the timeless arc, but the fact that it could make up for the timeless arc speed was enough to make Fang Qingshan very happy. If he put the Otherworld Bridge into the timeless arc, including the Death Scythe, the Treasurefall coin, the Jodion Star picture, the Passing Water Lamp, the Great Void God armor, the 9 Bins Yellow River picture, the Eternal Army Camp, and the Chaos Horn, the 9 Eternal God Furnace units would all be assembled. That way, the timeless arc would reach the true peak of Ling Yun. It could level up to the unparalleled realm at any time. If the timeless arc leveled up to the unparalleled realm, not only would its fighting power increase, but it would also be able to fight against ordinary demi-saints. At the same time, when it leveled up, it would receive the blessings of the eternal God Lotus. This was comparable to the enlightenment of Hong Jun Tiandao's creation. With this opportunity and the merits of the pilgrimage to the West, he would be blessed with luck. There would also be the Golden Pill 8 transformations, the 9,000 years old peach of immortality, the spiritual liquid of origin, and other treasures of heaven and earth. Fang Qingshan's breakthrough to the grand heavenly immortal realm was just around the corner. He didn't have to worry about his foundation at all. That way, his trip to the pilgrimage to the West could be considered a success. Chapter 744. Fuse. Fang Qingshan did not need to refine the Permethau Bridge at all, and directly threw it to the Thunder Emperor. The timeless arc shook, and the last gap on the 9-star alignment of the Eternal Divine Furnace was filled. As long as the timeless arc was completely integrated with the Divine Bridge, everything would come to fruition. In this way, as long as he returned to the immortal world, he could start planning the gate of eternal life. If he could get this treasure, Mosquito Dauren would definitely break through to the primordial chaos realm. If he really could not, he still had the primordial violet chi in his mind. He could choose a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure and integrate it into it, and a Khanate cardinal treasure could be born. At that time, Fang Qingshan did not believe that he could not succeed, although this kind of consumption might cause Fang Qingshan to go bankrupt. However, compared to a primordial chaos realm clone, any resources were worth it. Investment first, return later. With power, would he still be afraid of not being able to find resources? Another point was that the threat from Guanyin was no longer a problem. It turned out that although Fang Qingshan was not afraid, The timeless arc had not reached its true peak after all. If Guanyin came knocking on his door, he could only choose one of the existing top-notch Khanate spiritual treasures to integrate and advance. However, whether it was the mystic essence water control flag, the sun and moon pearl, or other cardinal treasures, they did not meet Fang Qingshan's requirements. Integrating them would not be able to maximize the development of the timeless arc, but it would be too wasteful. Now that he had the Permitha Bridge, it could be considered as a true success and he could sleep peacefully. Thank you, Master. I will definitely inform Master as soon as I find a place where there are treasures. Outside the hill where the Permitha Bridge was hidden, the six-eared macaque said excitedly to Fang Qingshan, "Forget it. You can take the treasures anytime. Don't forget about the journey to the west. This is the key of the urgent matter. Don't lose the big picture because of small things." Fang Qingshan waved his hand and smiled. "If you can open the treasure yourself, you don't have to inform me. Just take it yourself." Yes, this disciple dares not forget. The six-eared macaque nodded heavily. After all, the tribulation of the journey to the west was not only related to Fang Qingshan's merit and luck, but also related to his own tribulation of life and death. Treasures could be obtained at any time, but the great tribulation of the journey to the west was not something that could be obtained at any time. If he missed this opportunity, Fang Qingshan would only lose a portion of karmic luck. For him, it was basically the end of his road to survival, because his tribulation had already piled up to the point where it was difficult to return. If it weren't for Fang Qingshan, he would have died in the great tribulation of the journey to the west. If the calamity continued to accumulate, even a saint might not be able to save him. As for how this had happened, it had to start with Fang Qingshan taking the Otherworld Bridge and fusing it into the timeless Arkansas. It was a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure, and one that was compatible with the timeless arc at that. Needless to say, it was precious. Not to mention, it also solved the problems of his cultivation, the threat of Guanyin, and so on. Therefore, Fang Qingshan felt a little apologetic. In return, he passed on the Xianmen Guardian Divine skill, the 9 transformations technique, to the six-eared macaque. This made him so excited that he directly prostrated himself on the ground, kneeling 3 times and kowtowing 9 times. Although he had secretly learned a lot of skills from Sun Wukong, it had stopped when he reached the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. After all, he had secretly learned it, and it was not actively taught. The six-eared macaque's obsession with the inheritance of cultivation techniques had almost become his obsession. It had been accumulated for thousands of years, from ancient times to the present. Therefore, Fang Qingshan's act of giving him cultivation techniques was more touching than taking him in and helping him resolve the great tribulation of life and death. Seeing the situation, Fang Qingshan was only stunned, but he took advantage of the situation and agreed. After all, the six-eared macaque's luck and aptitude were not inferior to Sun Wukong's. Accepting him would not bring disgrace to himself and the Ren school. Instead, they would benefit greatly. This was the reason why the six-eared macaque called Fang Qingshan Master. If you treat me like a national scholar, I will repay you like a national scholar. After taking the bridge of the opposite shore, the six-eared macaque decided to continue treasure hunting with Fang Qingshan. However, Fang Qingshan thought about it and rejected it. It was not that he was noble and unquestionable integrity and looked down on it. Seeing the bridge of the opposite shore, even if the other treasures could not compare to it, it was definitely not simple for it to be passed down. With the 1 meter higher skies character, how could Fang Qingshan let it go? However, after all, he had already accepted the six-eared macaque as his disciple. Snatching the opportunity from his own disciple obviously made him feel embarrassed, although the six-eared macaque did it willingly. Furthermore, and most importantly, it was what Fang Qingshan had said earlier. The most important thing now was the journey to the west. The treasure was there, and there would not be any changes in a short period of time. They could go and get it at any time. If they missed the journey to the west, they would regret it for the rest of their lives. After all, getting the treasure was not an easy task. To get the bridge of the opposite shore this time, Fang Qingshan had used all his means, but it still took him half a month. This was with the help of the passing water lamp. Moreover, the treasures in the western Hiniazu had basically been explored. If they went to other places, it would be too far and not on the way. The most important thing was that the six-eared macaque could not be sure if there were more treasures in the original place. If it was like finding the bridge of the opposite shore and he had to make dozens of trips in vain, it would not be worth it. Therefore, Fang Qingshan rejected the six-eared macaque's invitation and told him to look for it on his own. Once he found the place where the treasure was hidden, he would check it out first. If he could get it easily, he would not be notified. If he could not solve the formation, then he would be notified. Of course, if he went to get the treasure again, Fang Qingshan would not take it all for himself. If it was a treasure that he needed, he would accept it without hesitation. However, he would also compensate him accordingly. If it was something that six-eared macaque needed, he would leave it to him. However, Fang Qingshan did not mention any of this, and six-eared macaque did not mind at all. This time, he was really thinking of repaying Fang Qingshan. Otherwise, after obtaining the bridge of the opposite shore, he would not have asked Fang Qingshan to follow him to the next place to get the treasure. After parting ways with the six-eared macaque continued to look for treasures while Fang Qingshan continued to head west to subdue the demons. After passing through the country of women, it was the Blazing Mountain. Here, the road blocked the Blazing Mountain. It would be difficult to obtain the banana fan and subdue the Bull Demon King. When Fang Qingshan accepted Hong Haier, it had already been decided. Once Xuanzang and the rest arrived, they would go through some hardships, and Fang Qingshan would lend them a helping hand. After passing through the Blazing Mountain, they arrived at the country of sacrifice. The country of sacrifice was not simple. Firstly, it was not simple because of the Buddhist treasure of the Jingguang Temple. When it shines at night, people from tens of thousands of miles have seen it. During the day, it emits colorful air, and no one in the four countries disagrees. With this treasure, even if the country was untalented in literature, unskilled in martial arts, and unrighteous in monarchs, there would still be the South Moon Tua country, the North Gaochang country, the East West Liang country, and the West Benbo country. Every year, they would pay tribute with beautiful jade, pearls, beautiful concubines, and fine horses. Once this treasure was lost, the four barbarians would immediately stop paying tribute to foreign countries without hesitation. Chapter 745. This was only in the mortal world, and the effect was only to intimidate everyone. The key was that this item actually attracted the nine-headed bug from the jade pool to fight for it. This was not normal. There were many son-in-laws in the journey to the West World, and they were not simple. For example, Zhu Beiji, Bull Demon King, and this nine-headed bug. He did not know where this nine-headed bug came from. However, his abilities were shocking. Monkey Sun and his senior brothers could not deal with him. In the end, they invited Erlang, Xiansheng, True, Lord Yang Jian, but they could only injure him and not take him down. After one of his heads was bitten off by the celestial dog, he escaped to the North Sea. He was able to escape without a backer. This was rare in the journey to the West. However, Fang Qingshan felt that this should be the result of Yang Jian going easy on him. Fang Qingshan knew Yang Jian too well. After all, they had fought side by side. During the God Investiture War, his battle strength was close to the 12 golden immortals of Chan's sect. Not to mention now, the nine-headed bug was strong, but if Yang Jian really wanted to attack, it would not be difficult to take him down. Since he went easy on him like he did with Monkey Sun, then there was only one reason. The nine-headed bug was also someone with a backer, and this backer was not small. Thinking about it, he finally disappeared in the North Sea. Fang Qingshan had a rough guess about his background. That was a giant comparable to Zhen Yuanzi. Moreover, that Buddhist treasure relic actually needed to be nourished by the nine-leaf Ganoderma grass. One must know that the nine-leaf Ganoderma grass was also not ordinary. It was the treasure of the Jade Pool, Golden Mother. Princess One Sheng stole it from the heavens. How could a treasure that needed to be nourished by him be ordinary? What a pity! Fang Qingshan shook his head. One look, and he knew that the Buddhist treasure relic was left there by a Buddhist expert. Fang Qingshan did not dare to touch it. If he did, the original owner would know. After all, the relic was like the golden core and nascent soul of Taoism. It was like the original owner's second primordial spirit. Moreover, it was still in the hands of the nine-headed bug. He placed it at the bottom of the jade pool, and it shone with golden light. As for taming the nine-headed bug, it was impossible. The only way to earn merit luck was to help them defeat the nine-headed bug before Sun Wukong invited Yang Jian over. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan suddenly had an idea. He slapped his forehead and cursed inwardly. In the past, he had only wanted to imitate those immortals and Buddhas. They would send their mounts down to the mortal world and then retrieve them to collect wild demons. When Sun Wukong was too busy, he would lend a helping hand and earn merit. However, he had forgotten that he could also earn merit points from those demons with backers and backgrounds. In other words, he didn't need to subdue them. He only needed to beat them into submission. Being able to suppress them before their backer appeared was also a form of merit. As long as he did not kill them, they would not be too calculative with him on account of the fact that he was a direct disciple over in school. Of course, Guanyin was an exception. However, as for Guanyin, Fang Qingshan had long stopped caring about it. Anyway, he had already offended her to death. Lice wouldn't bite when there were too many of them. Moreover, now that the timeless arc had truly reached the peak of Lingyun, he was full of confidence. In the distant sky, there was smoke and rain. The path was soft and messy, and the mountains were covered with green leaves. The early leaves were densely packed, climbing and pulling, giving off a fragrance. Looking into the distance, it was unknown where it ended. Looking closely, it was like a vast green cloud. It was misty and lush. The wind was rustling, and the sun was shining brightly. After passing the jade pool, there was a mountain ridge in front of him. It was full of thorns and vines, and the path was difficult to traverse. This was the 800-kilometer Thorns Ridge. In the great world of Journey to the West, it was often described as 800-kilometer. 800-kilometer Yellow Wind Ridge, 800-kilometer Quicksand River, 800-kilometer Flaming Mountain. This Thorns Ridge was one of the rare low-difficulty dungeons among the 81 difficulties. The group of demons in the Wood Fairy Nunnery was far inferior to the Nine-Headed Bug and the Bull Demon King. There was no comparison at all. They were on the same level as General Yin and the White-Bone Spirit. General Yin was lucky that Tripitaka didn't have any guards, but the White-Bone Spirit had the ability to transform. The group of demons in the Wood Fairy Nunnery didn't have any means, and they didn't have any cultivation. The most important thing was that most demons had a purpose for capturing Tripitaka, either to complete a task or to eat his flesh. The demons in the Wood Fairy Nunnery were strange. They captured Tripitaka and actually held a poetry meeting. They were definitely out of their minds. Sure enough, in the end, they couldn't escape the fate of wild demons without a backer. It was even easier for Fang Qingshan to subdue them here. He directly revealed the aura of the World Tree Avatar, and these demons immediately surrendered more piously than General Yin and the White-Bone Spirit. The reason for this was that these demons were all plants, and the World Tree was the source of all wood. Their cultivation couldn't compare to the World Tree Avatar. In essence, it was more like the difference between fireflies and the bright moon. Naturally, they surrendered without any surprise. After passing the Wood Fairy Nunnery, Fang Qingshan was preparing to continue westward to the Bells of Seven Absolutes. At this moment, the avatar he left in the Double Fork Ridge suddenly sent a message. It turned out that Tripitaka had arrived. It said that since the appearance of Guanyin, Li Shimin had arranged for Tripitaka to take the dragon horse and escort him to the west to obtain Buddhist scriptures. Setting off from Chang, and all the officials along the way welcomed him with good food and drinks. Those who knew were going to the west to obtain Buddhist scriptures, but those who didn't know would think that it was a public holiday, until they came to the Double Fork Ridge. After passing through the borderline mountain, they would be out of the territory of the Tang Empire. At the same time, Tripitaka's tribulation began. Ever since Fang Qingshan subdued General Yin, he had stayed in the Immortal's cave to practice the magic that Feng Qingshan had passed down, until a small demon came to report that a monk was coming from the east. Only then did General Yin end his practice reluctantly. Then he informed Feng Qingshan's avatar, Mountain Guardian, and brought the small demon to Tripitaka. First, he captured his guards. This time, because of Feng Qingshan's warning, General Yin didn't eat the two. He just let the small demon catch them and throw them into the cave. He would let them go after Tripitaka left. On the other side, just as he was about to attack Tripitaka, a sudden thunderclap resounded through the mountain ridge. "What a good demon! How dare you commit murder? Go to hell!" As soon as the voice fell, a muscular, burly man rushed over with a majestic gait. His footsteps were like striking a bell, and the mountain ridge responded accordingly. When Tripitaka saw that his guards were killed, he was so scared that his face turned pale. At this moment, seeing the appearance of a fierce warrior, it was really a glimmer of hope. He hurriedly called for help. "Hero, save me!" Next, it was Feng Qingshan's avatar and General Yin who put on a big show. Mountain Guardian defeated General Yin and took Tripitaka to his home to rest. After comforting Tripitaka, who was still in shock, the two chatted for a while. Tripitaka explained his origin, and then in a roundabout way, he actually wanted to ask Feng Qingshan to be his Dharma protector and escort him to the West to obtain Buddhist scriptures. Chapter 746. I want to, but unfortunately, I can only think about it. Hearing Xuanzang's invitation, Feng Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry at first, but then he secretly praised him. Xuanzang was not stupid. He could see the whole picture from a small part. From today's events, he had already predicted that the Western Paradise Sutra seeking was not that easy. It was not something that could be completed with just perseverance, and it required a guardian Vajra. Unfortunately, everything had been arranged, not to mention that he was just a chess piece on the chessboard. Even the chess player could not change the established facts at will. It was not that he was unwilling, but he could not. If he could, Feng Qingshan would not have to be so busy. It was much better to follow Xuanzang to the west and push forward all the way. In fact, the reason why Xuanzang had this idea was that the appearance of General Yin just now scared him. Good heavens, as soon as he left the Tang Empire, demons and ghosts came out. He also easily killed the guards sent by the Tang Emperor to protect him. This was only the first step of the long journey, and it was already so difficult. How could he live in the future? Therefore, he stared at Feng Qingshan, who repelled General Yin and gave him a sense of security. Tang Xuanzang was also full of sincerity. His Majesty Emperor Tang, Buddha, and his tongue was like a lotus flower. Unfortunately, it was like playing the lute to a cow. The two were not on the same frequency at all. However, Xuanzang's ability to nag was indeed extraordinary. It was like a demonic voice filling the ears. Even Feng Qingshan found it a little difficult to bear. Therefore, he quickly made up an excuse, saying that it was difficult to leave his homeland, and that he had to guard the border for the Tang Empire. Then, he recommended his real guardian, Monkey Sunday. Xuanzang originally felt a little regretful and sad that Feng Qingshan did not agree to protect him on the journey to the west. But when he heard Feng Qingshan's praise of Monkey's son, he was skeptical. This was actually the same as human nature. If you don't let go when you're led, you will retreat when you're beaten. Feng Qingshan saw this and did not say much. The next day, he took him directly to the foot of the Five Elements Mountain. Seeing is believing, hearing is false. My master is here. My master is here. Before Xuanzang saw Monkey's son, he heard a thunderous roar from the foot of the mountain. Looking in the direction of the sound, he saw a monkey at the foot of the mountain. Only the monkey head was exposed. Seeing once is better than hearing 100 times, and seeing is better than hearing about it. Xuanzang originally did not have a clear understanding of Monkey's son recommended by Feng Qingshan. At this moment, it seemed that his heart was finally at ease. Being suppressed by such a tall mountain, the sound was like thunder. Even the slightest movement was like an earth dragon turning over. There must be a demon if there is an abnormality. This was a natural phenomenon, not a mortal. However, the image of a monkey was not satisfactory. Although the Buddhists said that the body was just a bag of smelly flesh, Tripitaka was still immortal, so he was still afraid and worried. Fortunately, Fong Shan said that it was Guanyin Bodhisattva who enlightened him. Only then did Tripitaka relax. Taibao, is this my master? Master, quickly save me. I will ensure that you go to the Western Paradise to obtain the Buddhist scriptures. Monkey Xuanzang. Wuchi Xuanzang said, I see. And son, I 500 years, he had waited for 500 years. It was fine if he did not know, but now that he knew he was about to escape, these few months were harder than hundreds of years. If it wasn't for Fong Qingshan's incarnation of Zhenshan, Taibao, chatting with him from time to time and discussing Dao, Monkey Son would have gone crazy. Looking at Monkey Son, who was roaring like a demon, it was like a bolt from the blue. Xuanzang's face turned pale. However, there was no turning back. Xuanzang believed that Guanyin Bodhisattva would not harm him. So, with the help of Fong Qingshan, he climbed to the top of Wuxing Mountain. When he came to the 6-syllable golden stickers left by Buddha and felt the vast Dharma, he calmed down and knelt down respectfully. I, Xuanzang, am here to seek scriptures. If there is a difference between a disciple and a disciple, I will get the golden stickers, rescue the divine monkey, and prove the spirited mountain. If there is no difference between a disciple and a disciple, this junior is a fierce monster who deceives his disciple. As soon as the voice fell, there was a faint fragrance of Buddhist sandalwood in the void, and then the golden stickers, which seemed to be biting the mountain, were blown by the wind and floated up, heading straight for the spirited mountain in the west. Fong Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. In the immortal world, Fong Han also obtained a 6-syllable golden sticker left by the Mahesvara Buddha, and finally integrated it into the 8-divisional pagoda, becoming a treasure that helped him survive many disasters. The golden sticker in front of him was even more powerful. It suppressed Monkey Son for 500 years. Its power was so great that it was comparable to some top primordial spiritual treasures. Unfortunately, this was an object with an owner and could not be forced. He did not dare to snatch things from the hands of many treasures. That would be courting death. The background was only used to prevent others from bullying him, not to wreak havoc and bully others. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but sigh regretfully. Fong Qingshan took Xuanzang down the 5 Elements mountain and retreated far away. Boom! It was earth-shattering. The mountains collapsed, the earth cracked, and the sand and stones flew. It was as if Chun Xiang saved his mother, and you split the mountain. The entire 5 Elements mountain was directly divided into 2. With a whoosh, a figure flew out of the rubble. I'm out. Roars echoed in the mountains and valleys, and the whole world seemed to be alarmed. Li Mountain, Fangsun Mountain, Tishita Palace, Lingshao Hall, Lane Temple, Locket Mountain, Wuzhuang Temple, all the heavens were watching. What a monkey son, what a great sage. Heaven's equal, you're really amazing. Seeing Monkey Son, who had broken free and wreaked havoc in the world, Fong Qingshan's eyes suddenly burst with light. Although he knew how powerful he was, when he was suppressed under the 5 Elements mountain, he didn't notice it at all. At this moment, as soon as he broke free, he was like a trapped dragon rising to the sky, a koan transforming into a pong. Fong Qingshan compared Monkey Son to Bull Demon King. Although Bull Demon King's cultivation was higher than Monkey Son's, Monkey Son was probably stronger. Although Monkey Son was stronger in terms of aura and combat power. 500 years of suppression wasn't useless. 500 years ago, Monkey Son was in high spirits when he first came out. He was the marquis of 10,000 households and clamored for the Jade Emperor to come to his house the next day. 500 years later, Monkey Son seemed to have shrunk. He rarely completed the 81 difficulties alone. He only bullied the small monsters and would immediately seek help from Guanyin if something went wrong. Originally, he was releasing. Now he was withdrawing. Between releasing and withdrawing, he was subduing the heart monkey. The world was as big as the heart. Once the heart monkey was subdued, one's state of mind would be infinitely higher. Moreover, Monkey Sun was one of the 4 chaotic spiritual monkeys, the spiritual stone monkey. He was talented in transformation, knew the weather, knew the geography, and could move the stars. Monkey Sun was even more talented than Yang Jian. Therefore, after the journey to the west and the calamity, he became a Buddha. Moreover, he was the victorious fighting Buddha. His combat power was close to that of the veteran experts. Chapter 747. As for Xuanzang, he had also become a Buddha, but he was a Buddha of merit. Merit was a good thing. It was like a jack of all trades. It could be used to purify souls, increase cultivation, refine magic treasures, eradicate inner demons, heal injuries, and so on. But merit wasn't omnipotent. This was especially true if he used merit points to increase his cultivation. Although there was no situation where his foundation was unstable, it was still not enough. Although there was no instability in the foundation, it was relatively weak compared to others of the same level. It was just like how Goddess Nviwa became a sage through merit. Moreover, she was the first one to become a sage. However, among the sages, she was only slightly better than Cunny. Even with the cauldron of heaven and earth, she couldn't compare to Jin and Tong Tian. This was the disadvantage of using merit to increase one's cultivation. Therefore, Xuanzang, the Buddha of merit, couldn't be compared to Sun Wukong, the fighting Buddha. Moreover, he was originally a desolation beast, the golden cicada. Although he had reincarnated, his body still existed in the 8 treasures pond of merit in the west. Then, he became a Buddha like Sun Wukong after countless years of cultivation. Therefore, it wasn't surprising that he became a Buddha. Therefore, the journey to the west depended on the Monkey King, and it was also the Monkey King who helped. Of course, there might have been Guanyin, who was fishing in troubled waters. But now, with Fang Qingshan, there was no need for Guanyin. Sun Wukong, the Buddha's protector, the victorious fighting Buddha, at the same level, his combat ability could be said to be invincible. Challenging someone a higher level was as easy as eating and drinking. Other than Yang Jian, the protector of the Xianmen, no one else could compare to him. However, even though Fang Qingshan was lamenting in his heart, he was merely lamenting. He did not feel that he was inferior or that he was being pressured to the point of suffocation. His cultivation was lower than Sun Wukong's, and he was no match for Sun Wukong in a one-on-one fight. But that didn't mean he was weaker than him. After all, the strength of one's combat ability didn't just depend on one's cultivation and combat ability. It also depended on magic treasures, magical powers, and even the right time, place, and people. Even luck played a big role. Just like Guijing and Chen Xianfeng in the condor shooting. Given Chen Xuanfeng's martial arts, even Huang Yaoshi and the others would find it difficult to kill him in one blow. Not to mention Guijing, who didn't know any martial arts. Unfortunately, luck was not on his side, and his life was full of misfortune. There was no need to talk about treasures. Even Guanyin herself dared to fight against the Eternal Sky Vessel, let alone Sun Wukong. As long as he used the I Chi Sanqing supernatural power, the Monkey King wouldn't be able to do anything no matter how powerful he was. This was also the reason why the Bull Demon King hurriedly called for him to stop when he saw him using his supernatural power. On one hand, it was because the flood had washed up the Dragon King's temple, and on the other hand, he knew the power of this supernatural power. Moreover, Fang Qingshan's character was to become stronger when facing strong opponents. The stronger the opponent, the easier it was to stimulate his fighting spirit and potential. Fang Qingshan would not be afraid of the Monkey King, even if the Monkey King finished his journey to the west, became a Buddha, fought against the heavens and the earth, and became the protectors of Taoism and Buddhism. After all, if he was improving, could it be that he himself was not improving? He improved rapidly, and so did Fang Qingshan. For a moment, looking at the Monkey King, Fang Qingshan was filled with fighting spirit. However, he also knew that this was not the time, so he stopped immediately. Not to mention the change in Fong Qingshan's heart after seeing the Monkey King. Although Tang Sung was immortal, he still had some knowledge. When he saw the Monkey King being suppressed under the mountain, he already felt that it was extraordinary. At this moment, looking at the aura, he was both happy and worried. He was happy that this ability could protect him on the journey to the west, and his sense of security was greatly increased. He was worried that all capable people were arrogant and untamed. He was immortal. How could he subdue such a character? Xuanzang indeed had foresight. Given the Monkey King's arrogance, even after being suppressed for 500 years, how could he listen to a mortal wholeheartedly? Fortunately, there was Guanyin who gave him the band-tightening spell in time to help him. Band-tightening spell. Fong Qingshan muttered these 3 words. This was a precious treasure, and it was also a top primordial spiritual treasure. It was originally a Dharma treasure given to the golden-hooped immortal by the Grand Master of Heaven. During the God Confirmant battle, he used this Dharma treasure to capture the yellow dragon of the 12 golden immortals of Chan School. Later, the Grand Master of Heaven set up the 10,000 immortal array to compete with the disciples of Chan School, and the golden-hooped immortal participated in the defense of the array. After the 4 saints broke the array, the golden-hooped immortal escaped and disappeared. However, he did not know why his Dharma treasure fell into the hands of Tathagata and was given to Guanyin. According to the original trajectory, Guanyin used these 3 treasures to suppress the Monkey King, the Black Bear Monster, and Red Boy. However, now that the Black Bear Monster and Red Boy had become his people, he might be able to snatch the Golden Hoop. Putting aside Fong Qingshan's thoughts and plans for the Golden Hoop, the monkey had been suppressed for 500 years. Once it was released, it was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. It used the somersault cloud, the 72 transformations, and all sorts of other methods. If not for the fact that Fong Qingshan and Tang Sung were waiting for him, he probably would not have stopped. He was really anxious. After a long time, a clear whistle was heard. The Monkey King flew over on the cloud, seemingly unsatisfied. "Thank you for saving me, Master." The Monkey King first bowed in front of Tang Sung. Seeing this, Tang Sung could not help but feel a little less worried. Being grateful meant that he was not as evil as he had imagined. He was secretly surprised. "Thank you, Grand Protector." The Monkey King turned around and cupped his hands at Fong Qingshan. The reason why he was grateful to him was that, firstly, he chatted with him every day to relieve his boredom. Secondly, he was grateful to him for providing good wine and delicacies. Thirdly, he was grateful to him for bringing Tang Sing here and helping him get out. "Forget it, this is all fate." Fong Qingshan smiled faintly and then said casually, "Congratulations on getting out of trouble, great sage. Congratulations on breaking free, great saint. You've protected the holy monk on his pilgrimage to the west. The day you complete your service will be the day you become a Buddha. However, the journey to the spiritual mountain is extremely long and dangerous. If you encounter any danger in the future, just let me know in the 2 world mountains. I will definitely assist you with everything I have. All right, I'll be troubling you then." The Monkey King did not stand on ceremony. Firstly, it was just as Fong Qingshan had said. The journey to the west was fraught with danger, and he might really need help. Although he still did not fully understand the journey to the west, he was not a fool. After 500 years of suppression, he had more or less found out the truth. In the future, he would not act as recklessly as he did in the past. Firstly, it was for cultivation. Secondly, it would be easier if someone helped him. It would be a waste not to use it. Thirdly, Fong Qingshan's strength had gained the recognition of the Monkey King. They had never fought before. The Monkey King knew about it. Firstly, it was because he could sense it. Secondly, it was because he could tell from their daily conversations. Dragons do not live with snakes. The reason why Fong Qingshan could get along well with the Monkey King was not only because he kept him company and provided him food and drinks, but also because his strength was recognized. Chapter 748. The terrain of the mountain was treacherous, the peaks and ridges were messy, and the thistles and thorns covered the entire mountain. Venomous snakes and ferocious beasts came and went in groups, and the barbaric smoke and miasma covered the sky and covered the earth. In the distance, piles of clouds rose from the ground, reflecting the setting sun on the mountain, creating layers of beautiful colors. Even though the rose had thorns and the permethal life form was poisonous, the red clouds were not anything good either. But mortals and beasts, without special means or high cultivation, would die upon contact with them. 7 Extremes Mountain. Not to mention that after Tripitaka had Monkey Sun, he was very confident in the Western Paradise Sutra seeking. On this side, Fong Qingshan's main body had already crossed the Western Paradise and arrived at the 7 Extremes Mountain. As for why he didn't go to the Western Paradise, was there even need to say it? The demon of the Western Paradise was the Maitreya Buddha's chime boy. This person was not easy to deal with. Just his battle prowess alone was already very powerful, probably not inferior to the black bear monster and the others. Most importantly, he had 2 treasures in his hands. One was the golden centipede, and the other was the acquired human pouch. The golden Leo was one thing, but when he fought with his opponent, he could use this treasure to envelop his opponent and turn them into a pool of blood after 3 days and nights. Although he was powerful, Sun Wukong was like a turtle in a jar when he was covered by him. Unfortunately, even the horns on the Kong Golden Dragon's head couldn't defend against it. A hole was drilled through it, and in the end, it was smashed into pieces by Monkey Sunday. As for the postnatal human sac, it was a big deal. Although this item belonged to the post-celestial stage, it was similar to the Vajra ring. It was able to store things and was not weaker than the Xiantian stage. It was the East-coming Buddha Maitreya's special treasure. Of course, he didn't care about these kinds of monsters that relied on magic treasures. So long as the Treasurefall coin appeared, then it didn't matter what kind of magic treasure it was. So long as it wasn't a Khanate cardinal treasure, then it would all fall. After the defeated money was integrated into the timeless ark, the 2 original weaknesses were also made up for. It was no longer the case that only treasures could be dropped and no weapons could be dropped. There was also no longer the limit of 3 drops per day. However, what was the use of Fong Qingshan winning now? He could not subdue the yellow-browed old Buddha and offended the Maitreya Buddha instead. It was better to wait for Sun Wukong and the others to arrive. When they couldn't handle the situation, he would step in and clean up the mess. Looking at the 7 Extremes Mountain from afar, Fong Qingshan thought he had returned to the Shushan world and arrived at the Rotten Peach Mountain. This mountain was another 800 li wide. However, it was not filled with peach trees, but with persimmon trees. However, this persimmon tree had 7 extremes. The first was to increase longevity, the second was to increasing energy, the third was to have no nests, the fourth was to have no insects, the fifth was to have frosty leaves to play with, the sixth was to have good fruit, and the 7th was to have fat leaves. Hence, it was named the 7 Extremes Mountain. Just like the Rotten Peach Mountain, there were too many persimmons in the 7 Extremes Mountain. If they couldn't finish them, they would fall to the ground and rot. Then, they would be covered in rain, dew, snow, and frost. After going through the summer, they would be moldy and dirty. In addition, the poisonous miasma in the mountains had mutated several times, and ordinary people would die upon contact. This was a dangerous place for others, but it was nothing for Fong Qingshan. Back when his cultivation was still weak, he had dared to walk through Rotten Peach Mountain, let alone now. The only things he was interested in were the persimmon trees of the 7 Extremes Mountain and the red-scaled giant python. Since this mountain was famous for its persimmon trees, it was obvious that the persimmon trees were not ordinary. They were either spirit roots or mutated species. Furthermore, Fong Qingshan suspected that the reason the red-scaled python had appeared here was because it had mutated after eating the persimmon. This meant that the fruits of the persimmon trees were natural treasures. As such, how could Fong Qingshan let it go so easily? Open. When he arrived above the 7 Extremes Mountain and saw the rainbow-like miasma, Fong Qingshan couldn't help but frown. He used his fingers as a sword and swiped them across his eyes. 2 rays of golden light shot out. Black and white alternated as the sun rose and the moon set. Yin-yang eye. Once this eye technique was used, it instantly pierced through the miasma. The entire Seven Extremes mountain was clearly reflected in Fang Qingshan's mind. The persimmon trees that covered the entire mountain gave off a fragrant aroma that made people salivate. However, because of the miasma, they were locked in the Seven Extremes mountain. This miasma made people think that this was a barren wasteland. Because of this miasma, the fragrance of the spirit fruits lingered. If it wasn't for this, the red python demonic tribe wouldn't have been able to occupy the Seven Extremes mountain. The persimmon trees in the entire Seven Extremes mountain were divided into several layers. The persimmon trees at the outermost layer were just the most ordinary ones. However, even ordinary ones were taller than the persimmon trees in other places. Each of the persimmons was incomparably huge. Just a little closer, and they would become spirit roots. Although they were the lowest grade of spirit roots, taking them over the years could strengthen one's body and get rid of all diseases. If there were no accidents, it wouldn't be difficult for one to live to 180 years old and die of old age. Most importantly, there were tens of thousands of persimmon trees all over the mountain. The name of the Seven Extremes mountain came from the persimmons here. Further in, the persimmons were even more precious. If the persimmon trees at the front could only be used to build one's foundation and strengthen one's body, then the persimmons here could already be considered spirit fruits. They were comparable to ordinary pills and did not have pill toxins. However, it was also very dangerous here. The miasma sealed off the mountain and blocked the path. The deeper one went, the denser the miasma and the stronger the toxicity. The closer one went, the fewer persimmon trees there compared to the front. They were sparse. However, a single tree was even bigger. It was like a coiled dragon that covered the sun and sky. Big persimmons hung high up like red lanterns. The persimmons here could already be considered heavenly treasures. Although their numbers were not as many as the front, there were still hundreds and thousands of them. Even Fang Qingshan's eyes lit up when he saw them. However, what really made Fang Qingshan's breath quicken were the 7 persimmon trees at the innermost layer of the Seven Extremes mountain. If the persimmon trees at the outermost persimmon trees were ordinary citizens, the ones closer to them were elites. The ones further in were outstanding representatives of various trades and professions, and the ones further in were hegemons or governors. Then these 7 persimmon trees were kings and emperors. Although these 7 persimmon trees were still acquired and could not be compared to the Bodhi tree or the world tree, their fruits could not be compared to the peach of immortality, the golden pill of 8 transformations, or the spiritual liquid of mixed elements. They were probably not inferior to peerless celestial pills or even king-grade celestial pills. They could be considered half a step away from king-grade. As expected, this Seven Extremes mountain is really a blessed land. When he saw this, Fang Qingshan could not help but smile. Although these persimmons were not of much use to him at his current cultivation level, there was still some. As a person who lacked resources all year round, Fang Qingshan had done it before. How could he let go of such a resource? Naturally, he would not miss it. Roar. At that moment, a dragon's roar suddenly came from the Seven Extremes mountain. Then, a red-scaled python flew out from the center of the 7 persimmon trees. The python's eyes shone like stars, and its nose breathed out mist. Its fangs were like steel swords, and its claws were like golden hooks. There was a horn on its head that looked like it was made of thousands of agates. Its body was covered with red scales that looked like it was made of thousands of rouge. The ground was only suspected to be a brocade blanket, and the sky was mistaken for a rainbow. There was a fishy smell where it rested, and when it moved, it was shrouded by red clouds. It was not big, and people on both sides could not see anything. It was not long, and a mountain spanned from north to south. Chapter 749. This was the monster of the Seven Extremes mountain. Fang Qingshan had only been looking at the spirit root of the persimmon tree just now and had neglected it. This snake demon was originally in the midst of a mental journey within the spirit root. It was also because of Feng Qingshan's scorching gaze that it was startled. It seemed to have instinctively sensed that Feng Qingshan was not someone to be trifled with. The red python curled up into a ball like a heavenly pillar. It held its head high and stuck out its red tongue, hissing as if threatening Feng Qingshan to stay away. Unfortunately, it looked so tough on the outside. Seven-colored sky-swallowing python. Feng Qingshan did not care about the giant python's attitude, but he was a little surprised by its species. He squinted his eyes and carefully sized up the giant python. He was surprised that it was actually an ancient, mutated, seven-colored sky-swallowing python. This python was different from other snakes and pythons. Other snakes and pythons generally walk the path of becoming a dragon, becoming a fish dragon, a flood dragon, a coil dragon, and step by step, becoming a real dragon. This was considered an orthodox path, and every step was traceable. As long as it evolved step by step and was not too unlucky, it would eventually be able to fly to the 9 heavens. However, there were still some snakes that did not take the usual path. For example, bash, soaring serpent, hook serpent, etc. The seven-colored sky-swallowing python was one of them, but it had always insisted on purifying the python's bloodline instead of transforming from a snake to a dragon. Although this path was difficult, there were few successful examples. It was not that the path of becoming a dragon was so deeply rooted in people's hearts. However, once it succeeded, it might not be any worse than a dragon. It might even be more powerful. According to the Archean desolation history, during the Archean era, there was a giant python that swallowed the sky and manifested 7 colors. It dared to compete with the ancestral dragon, but could not defeat it and escaped into the void, its whereabouts unknown. One had to know that the Daozu dragon was one of the most powerful beings in the world, one of the overlords of the Archean era, and an existence that almost achieved Tao. The 7-colored sky-swallowing python could actually compete with it. Although it failed, it was a glorious defeat. On the other hand, after the Archean era, the Dragon Clan had never produced a strong master. It was not known if it was because of the karma of the ancient war that it was cursed, or because the rise of the liches and demons, or even the sages, suppressed the Dragon Clan. It was also a wise choice not to take the path of becoming a dragon. For the 7-colored sky-swallowing python to succeed, it had to go through 7 transformations. The 7 colors corresponded to red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Every time it changed color, it was a great leap forward, a metamorphosis. After all, it the 7-colored Tao. In the 7-colored sky-swallowing serpent, dragon, and shun it. If it were at it, the sky-swallowing python would be known it. Heaven-devouring python, as its name suggested, could even devour the heavens. Compared to the heavenly hound and the kuanpeng, it was even stronger. However, this transformation was even more difficult than the path of dragon transformation. Dragon, star, dragon, Tian, Tu Dao. The dragon root, a god, dragon Shan, and root dragon. Moreover, he didn't know if this path was too heaven-defying or something else, but every time he transformed, not only would there be natural disasters, there would also be man-made disasters. This was also the reason why Heaven King snakes were rarely seen in the world. It was not easy to evolve, and there were also natural and man-made disasters. He did not expect to see a descendant of the Heaven King snake in the 7 Extremes Mountain. He did not know if it was his fortune or misfortune. Fortunately, he occupied a place like the 7 Extremes Mountain, which was very beneficial to his cultivation. The more powerful a creature's bloodline, the more difficult it was to cultivate. The resources needed to evolve would be even greater. Based on Feng Qingshan's observation, this python should not be too old compared to his cultivation. Its red scales were the color of blood. It had reached the limit of the first transformation and was about to transform into yellow. When that time came, its power would increase by leaps and bounds. This was because of the persimmons and spirit fruits all over the mountain. Especially now, the spirit fruits on the 7 king persimmon trees were about to ripen. Once they ripened, The red python could completely transform into its second color after devouring them. Everything was ready except for the final push. It was a pity that the persimmons had not ripened yet. The natural disasters had not fallen, but man-made disasters had arrived. He was only at the edge of the first transformation. Even if he broke through the first transformation and transformed into yellow scales, or even 3 colors, he would most likely die. Moreover, under the great calamity, karma was involved. Even if he wanted to escape, there was no way for him to escape. Who asked him to enjoy the benefits of the 7 Extremes Mountain? And the 7 Extremes Mountain was a node of the Western ancestral vein. There was no such thing as a free lunch. If there was something to gain, there would naturally be a price to pay. If he could successfully survive the great calamity, he would naturally be free. If he could not, then he would use his life to pay for it. Fortunately, he had met him. That was what Fong Qingshan thought. Without the help of Fong Qingshan, the red python would have ended up like the 6-eared macaque and the scorpion spirit. With him, it was a chance of survival. The heavens were merciful. Fong Qingshan sighed. He moved his feet and instantly appeared in front of the 7 king persimmon trees. Hiss! The red python obviously did not expect Fong Qingshan to suddenly appear in front of it. Almost instinctively, it opened its mouth, and its poisonous fangs exuded a sinister, cold light. A cage of poisonous things shot out like a dragon's breath. A sizzling sound was immediately heard in the void. Like a bubble that had encountered fire, it was rapidly burned and corroded. Seeing this, Fong Qingshan did not dodge or even defend himself. He directly let the poisonous fog land on his body. However, a surprising scene happened. Such a poisonous fog was not fatal to a golden immortal, but it was very troublesome. However, in front of Fong Qingshan, it was like a bird returning to the forest, as docile as a sheep. The reason for this was naturally because Fong Qingshan had cultivated the great poison technique in the past. Although he did not cultivate this technique as his destiny Dao, because he walked the path of combining thousands of Daos into one, he was somewhat proficient in it. The main reason was that the red python's cultivation was too low. Otherwise, if it was a 3-colored or 5-colored one, he would see if Fong Qingshan would still dare to be careless. As for the red python, it was naturally dumbfounded when it saw this scene. It did not expect its strongest technique to be so easily broken by someone. However, the king persimmon tree was related to its evolution, so it could not give up. Therefore, it also triggered its ferocity. Instead of waiting for death, it suddenly raised its head and let out a loud hiss, directly using its body as a weapon to ram towards Fong Qingshan. The red python's body was huge, but it was not slow. Its giant tail was even more agile, and when it swung, a terrifying force seemed to be able to break the void. But it was useless. All right, quiet down for a while. Fong Qingshan reached out and pointed, ignoring the distance between them. He directly arrived at the head of the red python and pressed lightly. The previously arrogant and ferocious red python instantly became a soft-footed shrimp. Its body seemed to have been hollowed out, and with a boom, it directly smashed onto the ground. Chapter 750. It was a cold December day, and the north wind was cold. Steep cliffs, rugged roads, and steep ridges. There were cold veins that pierced through the clouds, and waves of wind that could shatter jade. It was a dangerous place. With just one look, one could tell that this was a place where demons roamed. Worried Eagle Ravine. The waterfall was noisy, the cliffs turned rocks, and the valleys thundered. It was a ravine that even eagles found difficult to cross. Ever since Xuanzang took in Monkey Sun, he felt at ease for a period of time and leisurely headed to the Western Paradise. Unfortunately, his good mood did not last for 3 days and was broken by Monkey Sunday. Who was Xuanzang? A monk. A monk was merciful. Who was Monkey's son? A demon. Although he was better than other demons that ate humans, he was still a demon, and he saw human life as worthless. Sure enough, not long ago, Monkey Sun was merciless in front of Xuanzang. Xuanzang's worry finally appeared. He had no way to restrain Monkey Sunday. He could only nag, although it was a good idea. But Monkey Sun was not someone who could endure it, and flew away directly. There was nothing he could do. Fortunately, timely rain appeared, and the band-tightening spell appeared. Back then, Huang Long could not get rid of it, and naturally, Monkey Sun could not either. A wise man did not fight when the odds were against him, so Monkey Sun settled down. However, he did not know how long he could keep this peace. Unknowingly, it was already winter. Being blown by the cold wind, Xuanzang looked at the dangerous ravine again and suddenly shivered. Wukong, this place looks dangerous and not a good place. Go and see if there are demons, and we have to be careful. Xuanzang was once bitten, twice shy. Monkey Sun waved his hand indifferently. Although he had already sensed that there were demons in the worried Eagle Ravine, he pretended not to know. Who told Xuanzang to be kind and evil, and actually schemed against him and put on the band-tightening spell? Monkey Sun was originally grateful to Xuanzang for saving him, and the two of them were just mutually beneficial. Xuanzang helped him out, and he protected Xuanzang on the way to the Buddhist scriptures. Now, he was beating wild geese all day and was pecked in the eye by the geese. He was now wearing the band-tightening spell, and his freedom would never return. Master would live up to his name, and he would have to lower his head and be restrained. Monkey Sun was indignant, but he couldn't do anything to Xuanzang, so he wanted to scare him. Yes, he was just trying to scare them. He was confident that he was the great sage, heaven's equal. What demon would dare to be so impudent in front of him? With his protection, what kind of dangerous place could they not pass? Unfortunately, Monkey Sun was too confident. Did he think it was 500 years ago? Moreover, even 500 years ago, the so-called great sage, heaven's equal, was just a joke in the eyes of most people. He was just a clown. Putting all this aside, Tripitaka felt helpless as he looked at the indifferent Monkey Sunday. He naturally knew what the reason was. A monk never lied, but he had no choice but to restrain Monkey Sunday. It was all for his own good. Otherwise, if this monkey couldn't be controlled, who knew how much trouble it would cause if it was allowed to do as it pleased? Although he felt a little guilty, he didn't think that he had done anything wrong. It was a pity that he had lied and would go to the Avicii hell after he died. But sweeping the floor is afraid of harming an ant's life, cherishing the moth's gauze to illuminate the lamp. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. If I don't go to hell, who will? Amitabha. Tripitaka lowered his head and chanted. He closed his eyes and chanted the Diamond Sutra in a low voice. Sitting on the white horse, he walked towards the agonizing eagle stream with trepidation. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, nothing happened. Halfway there, they were all safe and sound. Tang Xuanzang's heart finally relaxed. Sun Wukong, on the other hand, had a smug look on his face. See, I told you that nothing would happen. Master is just too timid. However, the speed of the slap exceeded his expectations. Roar! Seeing that they were about to cross the agonizing eagle stream, a dragon roar from the 9 heavens shook the sky, pushing the waves out of the cliff mountain. It opened its mouth and swallowed like a whale. Demon, how dare you? Monkey Sun didn't expect that there would be someone who wasn't afraid of death. With a roar, he grabbed Tripitaka and took out the Jingu Bang. As if he was splitting Mount Hua, he smashed it towards the white dragon. The white dragon swallowed the white horse in one gulp. Before it could digest it, it felt its body tighten and its vision went black. Without much time to think, the white dragon roared. Its eyes were glaring and it bared its fangs and claws, sweeping up piles of snow. It swung its tail and whipped the air. A sonic boom rang out, directly blasting out a vacuum zone in the surrounding air. However, he was unlucky to meet Monkey Sunday. Monkey Sun's cultivation was higher than his. The Jingu Bang in his hand was a measuring tool used by Yu the Great to control the floods. Later on, it became a stabilizing force. Although it was acquired, it was not weaker than the innate and had unparalleled merits. In addition, Monkey Sun had just been put on the band-tightening spell. He had nowhere to vent his anger, and the white dragon happened to be the target. Monkey Sun's attack was earth-shattering. Along with a white dragon's scream, its scales flew and blood splattered. Without any hesitation, he dived into the agonizing eagle stream with all his might. Monkey Sun followed it, but he was still a step too late. He could only vent his anger by hitting the stream with his rod. For a time, the earth shook, the deep stream boiled, and the water splashed. The turbid waves pierced the sky, stirring up clouds like arrows. The fog covered the sky, the mountains and valleys echoed, and the birds scattered. The white dragon had just hidden in the immortal's cave abode. When it felt this scene, it suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. It secretly reminded itself to not go out and confront the thunder-faced monkey head-on. Tang Sanzang had not yet recovered from the shock and was hit by Monkey Sunday. He suddenly trembled and fell to the ground. Anger rose in his heart, and he stared at Monkey Sun with an unkind face. "You monkey, I told you long ago that this is not a good place, but you didn't believe me. Now look at you. Not to mention the demons blocking the way. Even the white horse was eaten. This is a gift from His Majesty, the Tang Emperor. Without him, I don't know how long it will take." Xuanzang displayed his ability to nag. In one breath, he rattled on and on without repeating himself. In Monkey Sun's ears, it was like a demonic sound, not much worse than the band-tightening spell. "Stop!" Monkey Sun shouted and quickly stopped Monk Tang. Initially, Little White Dragon did not give him face, and now he let him run away. Monkey Sun had been holding back his anger and was very upset. Now that Monk Tang had added fuel to the fire, he was going to go berserk if he continued listening. "Isn't it just a demon? Isn't it just a white horse? Don't worry, I will subdue the demon and return you a white horse." After saying that, without giving Tang Sanzang a chance to speak, he pulled him to a safe area, drew a circle with a golden cudgel, and told him not to go out. Then, as if escaping, he once again flew above the agonizing eagle stream. It stands to reason that it would be easy for Monkey Sun to take down the white dragon. However, what made Monkey Sun confused was that he was not good at swimming. When fighting in the water, Xiao Qin's strength would be greatly reduced, losing 50% of his strength. Chapter 751. Why was Sun Wukong always so hesitant when he encountered water monsters on the journey to the west? Be it Quicksand River, Blackwater River, Tongtian River, but wherever there was water, he would let Zhu Beiji and the others attack to lure the monsters out instead of attacking them. It was because of his ability to swim. It was not that he was not good at it, but that he was suppressed in all aspects. Now that the little white dragon was hiding in the worried eagle stream, his strength would be greatly reduced if he went in. Not only would he not be able to take him down, he might even fail miserably. This made Sun Wukong very worried, especially when he had boasted in front of Tripitaka. Wouldn't it be very embarrassing if he couldn't do it? After scratching his head, Sun Wukong decided to call for help. According to the original plan, Sun Wukong would have thought of timely Rain Guanyin first. But now he thought of Fong Qingshan. Firstly, Fong Qingshan was somewhat unfathomable in Sun Wukong's eyes. Before he was tricked into wearing the band-tightening spell, Sun Wukong had talked to Fong Qingshan, and Fong Qingshan had reminded him in a roundabout way. Unfortunately, Sun Wukong did not take it to heart at that time, and now he regretted it. Secondly, before he left, Fong Qingshan patted his chest and said that if he had any difficulties, he could look for him and he would do his best to help. Therefore, Sun Wukong felt that Fong Qingshan was a straightforward and capable person. Asking for help from such a person was not only satisfying, but also effective. As for the others, Sun Wukong had not seen a single one of them after being suppressed for 500 years. Sun Wukong had written down every detail in his little notebook. It was not time for him to repay them. Thinking of this, Sun Wukong returned to Borderline Mountain with the somersault cloud. He found a Grand Guardian, Fong Qingshan. Why is the great sage back again? Seeing Sun Wukong, Fong Qingshan's eyes lit up. This was merit. Although he knew what was going on, he did not show it on his face and asked with a smile, "Did the great sage nag again?" Why did he use the word again in a row? All of this started from the time when Monkey Sun broke the rule of killing people. Sun Wukong was indignant. He could not bear to listen to Tripitaka's nagging, so he ran away with his somersault cloud. However, he did not go to the Dragon King of the East Sea for a heart-to-heart talk. Instead, he went to chat with Fong Qingshan, which was why he asked this question. Yes and no. Monkey Sun nodded and then shook his head. Without waiting for Fong Qingshan to open his mouth, he told Fong Qingshan everything that happened in the worried Eagle Stream in full detail. Old Sun has no other way, so I came to ask for help from the Grand Protector. Do you have any way to deal with him? You don't have to win. You just have to lure it out. I see. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Fong Qingshan waved his hand and said confidently, Great sage, watch me. There are 5 stars in the sky and 5 elements on the earth. Inescapable net, seal heaven and earth. Fong Qingshan shouted softly and made a seal with both hands. 5 colorful halos rose behind him, making him look like a real Buddha descending to the mortal world. Break! Fong Qingshan pointed from afar, and the 5 halos flew out, forming a 5 elements 8 trigrams diagram and falling into the agonizing Eagle Stream. What was strange was that the diagram seemed to be illusory and had no power at all. It fell into the agonizing Eagle Stream and blended with each other. However, Monkey Sun's eyes flashed as he realized something was amiss. Fong Qingshan's 5 elements technique was not to deal with the little white dragon, nor was it to seal the agonizing Eagle Stream. Instead, it was to cut off the connection between the agonizing Eagle Stream and the Earth Vein. The 81 tribulations of the journey to the west was to repair the Western Ancestral Vein. However, all roads lead to Rome. There is more than one road from the Tang Empire to Spirited Mountain. Why did he have to go through the 5-elemental mountain, the agonizing Eagle Stream, the Galao village? Actually, it was because this was the main vein of the Western Ancestral Vein. Every tribulation, every mountain and river corresponded to a node. It was also because these mountains, rivers, and countries were located above the nodes that they were extraordinary. Therefore, the Quicksand River had the eternal sands of time and space. The 3,000-week waters and the 7 Extremes Mountain had a mountain full of spiritual roots. Therefore, when the agonizing Eagle Stream passed through the clouds, the clear water reflected the red sun. 1,000 miles of water splashed with broken jade, and the water roared with the wind. If that was not the case, if it was an ordinary stream, with Monkey Sun's abilities, how could he be weakened because he was not good at swimming? That was the biggest joke in the world. Even if that was the case, if he drained a stream of water, wouldn't he be able to take drastic measures and everything would be fine? However, Monkey Sun did not do so. It was not that he was unwilling, it was that he could not and would not do it. Chapter 752. Putting aside the fact that it was impossible to drain all the water from the ancestral vein. There were 4 spirits in the world: the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. As sacred beasts, they were comparable to sages in their respective territories. Compared to them, the ancestral vein did not have sentience, but it was much stronger. Not to mention Monkey Sun. Even Buddha Tathagata would not be able to drain all the water here. And even if he could, he would not do it. Once it was drained, the ancestral vein would be shaken and the ancestral vein would collapse. That was a huge karma. Even sages might be knocked down from their positions. Even if one did not want to live anymore and wanted to take revenge on the world, they had to see if it was willing to give them the chance. Once there was any sign, Patriarch Subhoodie would appear in front of them and kill them. What about Subhoodie? There was still Juanti and Jane. When that time came, they wouldn't care about the Tao Ancestors ban. To them, the West and the Buddhist sects were forbidden lands. Whoever dared to break them would end up in a fight to the death. Even if it meant going against the Tao Ancestor, the heavenly Tao wouldn't hesitate. Fortunately, there were other ways. Monkey Sun's idea was to find someone to be the bait and lure the demons out. However, Fang Qingshan felt that it was too troublesome. He directly used a sealing technique to temporarily cut off the connection between this place and the ancestral vein. As for why Monkey Sun did not do that, the reason was simple. He did not know how. Monkey Sun had learned from Patriarch Subhoodie other than longevity techniques and protective techniques. As for other supplementary techniques, he did not know any at all. However, it was still beyond his capabilities to seal off the ancestral vein. Buzz. The 5 elements and 8 trigrams entered the anxious eagle stream. The others, including Little White Dragon, did not sense anything amiss. However, Sun Wukong, with his fiery golden eyes and the fact that he was a spiritual stone monkey, was born with a good sense of the weather and geography. He immediately discovered that the agonizing eagle stream was cut off from the earth veins. Although he did not know about the ancestral vein, he knew that the anxious eagle stream was a pool of stagnant water. There was no source of energy. Good. Monkey Sun could not help but jump in joy. Without the source of energy, how could a pool of stagnant water trap him? Little White Dragon died. With that, the Monkey King dived into the worried eagle stream. How dare you? Do you really think that I'm a pushover? You actually dared to enter the agonizing Hawk Ravine. Today, I'll let you have a taste of your grandfather's methods. The Little White Dragon's tail had been smashed by Monkey Sun with a stick, so it was hiding in the eagle's sorrow stream and licking its wounds. Unexpectedly, Monkey Sun dared to barge in. There was a path to heaven, but you didn't take it. Instead, you went to hell. Little White Dragon was overjoyed. Without saying a word, it picked up its weapon and charged forward. Then tragedy befell him. The anxious eagle stream was isolated. Without the geographical advantage, Sun Wukong's strength was not suppressed. With his kung fu, he was no match for Monkey Sunday. In terms of cultivation, experience, dharma treasures, and fleshly body, he was crushed in every aspect. In that case, wouldn't he be abused to the point of bleeding? For a moment, the Little White Dragon was like a piece of dough that Sun Wukong could knead as he pleased. From the worried eagle ravine to the sky, and from the sky to the worried eagle ravine. He screamed in agony, but his foundation was not harmed. The Little White Dragon was in so much pain that it wanted to die. Yes, it was in so much pain that it wanted to die. After knowing that the Little White Dragon was his master's mount, Sun Wukong naturally showed mercy. Otherwise, the Little White Dragon would have died with one strike. However, the death penalty could not be forgiven. The Little White Dragon became Sun Wukong's target to vent his anger. Killing is just a matter of having one's head on the ground. If you want to kill me, you're a hero. Just do it. At first, the Little White Dragon was very stubborn. However, in the end, it couldn't take it anymore and roared. Kill. If I kill you, who will be my master's mount? After Sun Wukong vented his anger, he felt even more comfortable than when he ate the golden core Immortal Peach. From head to toe, all the pores on his body were relaxed. It's better to be a monster. It could take a beating. Sun Wukong thought. If the Little White Dragon knew about this, it might spit out a mouthful of blood. Mount? Don't even think about it. Humph. I'd rather die than be humiliated. The Little White Dragon said proudly. Third Prince, at this moment, Fang Qingshan came forward and explained everything. Now that the Little White Dragon knew that Xuanzang was the one who came to the Western Paradise for the Buddhist scriptures, it felt like a mouthful of blood was stuck in its throat. You said that you're the monk who came to the Buddhist scriptures? Why didn't you say so earlier? How would I know if you didn't tell me? The Little White Dragon was filled with resentment. It felt like it had been wronged. If it knew that this would happen, it would have turned into a white horse from the beginning. It would have left a good impression on Xuanzang, unlike now where it was nearly beaten up. Although it was unwilling, the Little White Dragon still turned into a white horse. After all, it had no choice. Not to mention that they had already agreed on it. Sun Wukong was still eyeing it from the side. The Little White Dragon didn't want to suffer another beating. That feeling was unforgettable. Thus, the agony hawk stream was over and everyone was happy. A smile appeared on Fang Qingshan's face as he watched Sun Wukong and the others leave. He had obtained another karmic luck. But it was a pity that someone wasn't happy, even though they were happy. The Southern Ocean, Locket Mountain, Chow, In Cave. Today, the benevolent Guanin's old face was longer than a horse's. It was so gloomy that it seemed like it was about to drip water. Fong Qingshan was happy that he had obtained the providence, but Guanin was naturally angry because she had lost the providence. After returning from Chang'an, Guanin was calm and composed, waiting in the South Sea with wisdom in hand. Guanin didn't pay much attention to the Five Elements Mountain because Fong Qingshan was there. However, he calculated the days and knew that Xuanzang and the others would arrive at the Agony Hawk Stream soon. Sun Wukong would definitely come to him for help. However, he waited for a long time and didn't see any trace of Sun Wukong. Guanin's heart skipped a beat, knowing that something might have happened. He quickly calculated with his fingers and realized that something had indeed happened. He was still waiting here, foolishly, but Sun Wukong had already passed the Agony Hawk Stream. Fong Qingshan. The reason for such an accident was because of one person, Fong Qingshan. When Guanin met Fong Qingshan not long ago in the Five Elements Mountain, he was just a little surprised. He didn't know where he came from after not seeing him for many years. He didn't think of the journey to the west. After all, the Ren school had already sent Zhu Beiji. However, from the incident at the Agony Hawk Stream, Guanin could vaguely see some clues. It seemed that he was here to snatch business from him. Breaking someone's opportunity was absolutely irreconcilable. Guanin's eyes shot out a cold light, and the entire South Sea seemed to tremble. However, he didn't act rashly. Firstly, this matter might be just an accident. Secondly, he had his father standing behind Fong Qingshan. He didn't know if it was his idea. No matter what happened, not even Xuandu can stop anyone who dares to break my opportunity, let alone you. Guanin muttered to himself. Chapter 753. Fong Qingshan, who had just returned to the Two-Boundary Mountain and left the Seven Extremes Mountain, raised his eyebrows and curled his lips. Looks like I've caught your attention. Just now, Fong Qingshan felt a thread of karma stretching towards him. Clearly, someone was calculating something related to him. He did not even need to think backwards to know who it was. Fong Qingshan did not care about this at all. That was because he had already expected this moment before he decided to compete with Guanin. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food. For the sake of the fortuitous encounter, for the sake of the great Tao, Fong Qingshan wouldn't dare to snatch it from Guanin. If not for the fact that he couldn't, he would even dare to snatch it from Monkey Sunday. The world was bustling for benefits, and the world was bustling for benefits. To Fong Qingshan, as long as he could guarantee his own safety, as long as the benefits were great enough, and it did not go against his own conscience, he might even dare to provoke a sage. In the eyes of others, even the number one expert below the sage, a sage was unreachable, and everyone below the sage was an ant. But to Fong Qingshan, a sage was just that, and he would reach it sooner or later. Putting aside his main body and the World Tree clone, as long as he obtained the gate of eternal life, Taoist Wen's breakthrough was almost certain. If that was the case, would Fong Qingshan still feel that he was inferior to a sage? Putting that aside, Fong Qingshan continued heading west to subdue the remaining wild monsters while waiting for Sun Wukong and the others to arrive at Galao village to help them subdue Zhu Beiji. After passing the Seven Extremes Mountain, he arrived at Zhuzi country. There was a monster in Zhuzi country, the Saitai Sui of the Qilin Mountain. This monster was Guanin's mount, the Golden Hoe. When the king of Zhuzi country was young, he shot two young birds of Mahamyuri in front of the fallen phoenix slope. So Mahamyuri instructed the king to tear down the phoenix for 3 years and suffer from illness. The Golden Hoe happened to hear this, so it descended to the mortal world to become a monster. Of course, these were all excuses. It was nothing more than a so-called expert setting up a tribulation for Tripitaka to earn merit and luck. This demon had a treasure in his hands, the purple gold bell. This item was refined by Taishang Lao Jun in the 8 trigrams furnace. It was extremely formidable. With a shake, fire would come out. It shook twice and smoke rose. After 3 swings, sand and pebbles flew everywhere. The golden fur guardian lion was not simple either. Just like Manjushri's mount, the green-furred lion, and the white-toothed spirit elephant, he was once an inner sect disciple of Gieskul. He was known as the Golden Light Immortal. Unfortunately, during the War of 10,000 Immortals, he was defeated and captured. Just like the great king of Afflatus in Tongtian River, not only were the monsters here not wild, but they were also guanines. Fang Qingshan naturally would not act rashly and alert the enemy, especially now that Guanyin had noticed him. Although the battle between him and Guanyin was only a matter of time, but it was good to be a little late. That way, the eternal heavenly vessel would have more time and resources to reach the unrivaled level. After passing Zhuzi country, the next stop was the Silken Cave. There were 7 spider demons here. The abilities of these 7 people were not worth mentioning. Even if it was compared to the white bone spirit, it would still be weaker. But their bodies were not simple. Speaking of this, one had to mention the senior brother of these 7 spider demons, the 100-eyed demon lord of the Yellow Flower Temple. This person had 1,000 eyes under his ribs. When he took off his clothes and raised his arms, yellow fog spread under his ribs. The 1,000 eyes shot out golden light in all directions, making people unable to move forward or backward. It was as if they were covered in an invisible net of light. Even the powerful monkey son could break free, but he could not get close to him. He was the ancient desolation mutant, the 100-eyed centipede. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. As the junior sister of the 100-eyed demon lord, she was naturally not simple. It was also a mutant jasper spider from the ancient desolation period. It was as big as a carriage, and its entire body was dark green, like crystal jade. Most importantly, the silk they spat out was extremely precious. The cloth they weaved was not inferior to the cloth weaved by the weaver maids in the sky. Using this cloth to make clothes, not only was it warm in winter and cool in summer, it was impervious to fire and water, and it also had healing effects. It was indeed a rare treasure. Of course, if it was only the spider demons themselves and their senior brother, although Fang Qingshan coveted them, he would not alert them. Instead, he would be like the golden howler on the Qilin Mountain and directly pass them. This was because they were not wild demons without a background. First of all, the 100-eyed demon lord and the spider demons addressed each other as senior brother and junior sister, which meant that they had a master. Otherwise, demons would usually address each other as Taoist, brother, and not master. It was just like how, although the 3 sects came from the same source, they rarely addressed each other as senior brother. Unless they had a good relationship or were recognized by others, they would address each other as Tao brothers. Furthermore, the Mondis Spring occupied by the spider demons was not without a master. This was originally the territory of the 7 fairies, who came here to bathe 3 times a day. However, after the spider demons occupied it, the 7 fairies did not have any objections. Wasn't this strange? It turned out that Monkey Sun was interrogating the Earth God to find out the origin of the spider demons. The Earth God said, "The little god's power is weak, and I don't know how powerful he is. I only know that there is a Mondis Spring 3 miles south of here. It is naturally hot, and it was originally the 7th fairy's bathing pool. Ever since the demon came to live here and occupied her Mondi Spring, the 7th fairy did not fight with her and gave it to her for no reason. I saw that the heaven immortals did not provoke demons, so there must be a powerful fairy. The demon occupied the 7 fairies' territory, but not only did the 7 fairies not get angry, they didn't even fight with them. This was strange. Not to mention that the immortals in heaven would not be afraid of the demon on earth. The 7 fairy status was extraordinary. They were the princesses of the heavenly court, and to be able to make them retreat, these demons obviously had a background. Therefore, the source of everything pointed to the powerful person behind the Earth God. Furthermore, under normal circumstances, Sun Wukong would smash ordinary demons to death with a single blow of his staff. However, When faced with the spider demons, Monkey Sun was merciful and let them go. Even GS said, "In my opinion, we should kill the demon first, then liberate Master. This is to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots." Monkey Sun said, "I won't hit him. If you want to hit him, hit him." Since when was Monkey Sun so merciful? Combined with the fact that Bodhisattva Pailanpa, who appeared last, captured them and said that they would be used to clean the courtyard, everything became clear. The spider demons, the centipede, the green-haired lion, and the golden howler were all sent to the lower realm by Bodhisattva on purpose. Therefore, their backer was Bodhisattva Pailanpa. The 7 fairies turned a blind eye not because they were afraid of the spider demons, but because they wanted to give Bodhisattva Pailanpa some face. Moreover, they were only borrowing the Monty Spring. After the calamity, they would naturally return it. Therefore, the 7 fairies were so magnanimous. Chapter 754. Fang Qingshan had already offended Guanyin, and he had offended her to death. Naturally, he could not afford to make enemies from all sides. Otherwise, if he were to offend all the experts of the Buddhist sects and cause them to join hands, the situation would not be good. After all, although the timeless arc was powerful, it wasn't invincible. Just one Guanyin alone was enough to overwhelm him, not to mention all of them working together. Therefore, the spider spirit and centipede spirit could not be subdued. Even so, Fang Qingshan did not pass through this place. Because in this place, apart from the spider and centipede spirits, there was something else that Fang Qingshan coveted. That was the cleansing dirt spring. Speaking of this, one had to mention the ancient Great Shaman Yao War, where Quafu chased after the sun and Hui shot down the sun. Dijun and Shiha had 10 sons who lived on the Fusang tree in the Tang Valley of the East Sea. He was originally a top-notch 2nd generation in the world. In terms of aptitude, background, resources, luck, and so on, they were all top-notch. Unfortunately, he was born at the wrong time. Because of the Great Shaman Demon War, he was schemed against by the saints. 10 suns in the sky sounded mighty, but it was a path to death. Everywhere he passed, the land was scarlet, and all living beings were in a state of misery and suffering while karma coiled around him. Even if he didn't die at that time, as long as the demon race's providence dissipated, there would be an unexpected calamity. At that time, there was a great shaman of the Wu people, Quafu, who saw his mortal enemy killing his son. He was instantly enraged and rose up to kill the enemy. Unfortunately, Wu people were not good at flying. Although his divine powers were great and he was strong, it was useless if he couldn't hit him. In the end, not only did Quafu fail to kill the 10 sons, but he was dragged down by them and turned into a peach forest. Ho-E, a good friend of Quafu, learned of the situation and drew his bow in anger. 10 arrows fell 9 sons. If not for Dijun and Tai's timely arrival, the golden crows would have been extinct. Even so, 9 out of 10 were gone, and only 1 was left. That was the West Kunlun loose cultivator, Luya, whom Fang Qingshan had encountered during the Battle of God's Conferment, and the current Buddhist Marokana, monk crow nest. Let's not talk about this for now. However, it was said that Ho-E shot the sun and killed 9 golden crows with his arrows. Dijun and Tai were supposed to bring their corpses back to the heavenly court. However, he did not know if it was because of karma or other factors. In any case, after the golden crow fell to the ground, it mutated with the earth and turned into a spring. Nine golden crows, 9 hot springs, collectively known as the 9 Yang Springs. Fragrant Cold Spring, Companion Mountain Spring, Hot Spring, Dongha Spring, Mount Decoration Spring, Shaoan Spring, Guangfen Spring, Hot Spring, and Cleansing Dirt Spring. The Cleansing Dirt Spring was formed by the golden crow. Just this fact alone was enough to prove that it was extraordinary. What's more, the fact that the 7 celestial maidens had descended to the mortal world to soak in the hot spring meant that this place was no small matter. Who were the 7 fairies? In the heavenly court, what treasures did they not have? Was it necessary for them to come all the way here to take a bath? As such, There's definitely a secret that no one knows of here, just like Womanland's Mother-Child River and Quicksand River. Since there was a secret and there might be a treasure, Fong Qingshan naturally wouldn't miss it. The spider demons had a backer, and Fong Qingshan had no intention of subduing them, so he naturally wouldn't alert them. Fortunately, although the 7 spider demons were ancient mutants, they were only supporting professions. They could not compare to the 100-eyed demon lord. Furthermore, their cultivation levels were lacking, so Fong Qingshan did not have to worry about being discovered by them when he used the great concealment skill. If it was the 100-eyed demon lord, Fong Qingshan would probably have to be more careful. After all, he specialized in ocular techniques. Although Fong Qingshan was confident, he was not arrogant. When he arrived at the cave of silken threads, he could see a manor from afar. It looked like a river village in Jiangnan. The stone bridge was towering, spanning the gurgling waters. The ancient trees were thick and dense, hiding the soft cries of cicadas and birds. With a small bridge and a flowing river, naturally, there would be people around. There were several thatched huts and an immortal nunnery. The floor-to-ceiling window reflected the beauty. Thread the needle, pierce the phoenix, and draw the wand-bird. Those women were dressed in resplendent silk garments, and they were as beautiful as jade. She wore jewels of golden jade, adorned with pearls to dazzle her body. She walks on the scholarly shoes of a faraway traveler, and drags on the light dress of mist and silk. She walked hesitantly in front of the window with a faint fragrance of orchids. Thus, she suddenly leaped up, enjoying herself, leaning on the window lattice on her left, shading the railing on her right. Her white wrists trembled in the divine waters, picking the mysterious Ganoderma. Fong Qingshan was used to seeing beauties, and he was not a lecherous person. Therefore, he only took a quick glance and stopped looking. He used the great concealment skill and quietly avoided the spider demons, arriving at the cave of silken threads. Although it was a cave, the mountain range was towering, reaching the clouds at the top and the underworld at the bottom. The earth vein stretched for 800 miles. Near the door was a stone bridge, with 9 bends and 9 bays flowing water. The garden was planted with peaches and plums, with thousands of stalks and thousands of flowers. Vines hung from 3 to 5 trees, with the fragrance of orchids scattering thousands of flowers. From afar, one could see the cave dwelling oppressing Peng Island, and up close, one could see the forest oppressing Taihua. This was a place for demon immortals to live in seclusion, without any neighbors. It was indeed a good place for cultivation. No wonder it could nurture the cleansing dirt spring. Entering the cave, Fong Qingshan easily found the cleansing dirt spring. He saw the fragrant wild flowers everywhere, and the surroundings were dense with orchids. It was pleasing to the eye at first glance. Amidst the flowers and grass, there was a mountain pavilion. There was an 8-legged bench near the back wall of the pavilion. 2 gold-painted clothes hangers were placed on top of the 2 mountains. This was clearly where the 7 fairies and the spider spirit hung their clothes when they soaked in the hot spring. There was a pond under the pavilion. It was about 50 feet wide, more than 100 feet long, and 4 feet deep. The water in the pool was like a boiling cauldron, and the heat waves were like fresh soup. Through the pool water, he saw hot air bubbling up like rolling pearls and jade, flowing through 6 or 7 orifices on all sides. The spring of cleansing impurities, the root of impurities. If mortals could soak in it, they would be like the spiritual fruit persimmons in the 7 Extremes mountain. They would not get sick and would die of old age. If cultivators soaked in it, they could obtain a stainless body. Cultivation would yield twice the result with half the effort. Of course, this was not the most important thing. Although the immaculate body wasn't bad, the immortal bodies of the 7 fairies weren't necessarily weaker than his. The reason why she still came to take a bath every day, it was because it could also help people temper their bodies, comprehend the true fire of the sun, and comprehend the changes of yin and yang. The true fire of the sun was one of the most powerful flames in the world, even above the true fire of samadhi. Even a golden immortal would be turned into ashes if touched by it, not to mention comprehending it, or even using it to temper their bodies. However, because this spring was formed by the golden crow, it contained true fire, but it wasn't as violent as real true fire. The sky has 5 stars. The earth has 5 elements. When the 5 stars fall, heaven and earth will be reversed. Fang Qingshan's hands danced, forming a series of hand signs. A formation was formed in an instant. The 5 elements reversal formation. The reason why this formation was set up, its purpose was naturally to conceal the movements of the heavenly secrets. And although it seemed to be an auxiliary formation, as long as one fell into it, at least the spider spirit wouldn't be able to break it in a short time. After finishing the preparations, Fang Qingshan jumped into the spring. Suddenly, his body heated up, and the rolling heat poured into his body through his pores, so much so that Fang Qingshan couldn't help but let out a moan. From head to toe, he felt so comfortable that he could feel it in his bones. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.